Everyone, please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Good evening to everyone. I would like to call our town board meeting to order. I have asked Commissioner Harris to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and Commissioner Smith to lead us in our invocation. All stand.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the opportunity you've given us to come here tonight. Lord, we are meeting in very unusual circumstances, but that's because we're living in unusual times. Father, you are aware of this even before it occurred. So Father, I ask right now that you give our national leaders and our state leaders and local leaders across this country wisdom to make the right decisions for the country, for the state, and for their individual communities. Lord, I pray right now that you'll empower us, the Fuquay-Varina Town Board, with wisdom as we try to make the best decisions to affect for the very best of our community. Lord, we have several items of business tonight. I pray you'll help them to go smoothly. I pray that you'll give us wisdom as we make decisions. And Lord, I pray that you'll bless us all in a very special way tonight. And we pray that everything that is said will be pleasing in your sight. God, I just ask that you'll bless our country, bless our state, and bless our community during these difficult times. And Lord, we ask one more prayer for all the families that's being touched by this virus. We pray for your hand of peace to be upon them tonight. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Let us give the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Virtual meeting protocol and instructions. At this time, I will ask our town manager to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this virtual meeting. Adam?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, board members. So I'm going to just provide a little bit of instruction as it relates to how the public can participate and join the meeting this evening. All attendees that have joined the meeting tonight have joined muted. There is not a public hearing this evening, so the only time to address the board is during the public comments section at the beginning of the meeting. And Mayor, you will announce when the public comment section is live. If you wish to address the board during the public comment section, you will need to notify the town host that you wish to speak. If you are joining the meeting online and wish to speak, please press the raise hand button in the Zoom app. If you are joining the meeting via phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. After you have raised your hand, you will enter into a queue. When the public comment period begins, Mayor Byrne will ask the town host to recognize you to speak by calling out your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. You will be unmuted at this time and allowed to speak. We ask you to begin your comments by stating your name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all can be heard in a timely manner. Once you have finished addressing the board, you will be muted for the remainder of the meeting. Mr. Mayor?
We'll move to item 3A, approval of the March 2nd, 2020 regular scheduled town board meeting.
Yes, sir.
Approval of the minutes from the March 2nd, 2020 regular scheduled town board meeting. I would entertain a motion on that.
Mayor, make a motion to approve the minutes as presented by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Harris. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we move to item 4A, update on Judd Parkway. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Give me just 1 second here. The purpose of this agenda item is to present to the town board a video update of the construction progress of Northwest Judd Parkway. There is no action required for this agenda item. It is for information purposes only. Okay, Mayor, as you and the board can see, good progress is being made on Northwest Judd Parkway. Additional asphalt has continued to be laid by our contractor. You can notice that from a pedestrian standpoint, sidewalks are on both sides of the majority of the street, and work continues to advance. Right now, the project still remains on schedule, and we will continue to bring updates to the town board as we see more progress occur.
Thank you very much for this this update. Is this something that the contractor provides us, or is this something that we pay for? This the video.
The video is separate that we do periodically to be able to share with the public as well as with the town board on progress updates. Since the roadway is vast and covers a lot of area, it is the most efficient way to be able to show both the board and the public updates on the progress of the project.
It's really a good way to use technology, I think,
It
and you're
is,
doing a
sir.
good job with it. Thank you. We move to item 5, the public comment period. At this time, the IT director, Scott, will call on individuals that have virtually raised their hand by way of Zoom app or by telephone. Those wishing to address the town board will be unmuted one at a time. As a reminder, public comment is for those wishing to speak on matters that are not the subject of a public hearing. There are no public hearings scheduled this evening, so the portion of the meeting at this time to address the town board if you wish to do so. There will not be another time to address the town board once public comment period is over. Those wishing to speak are asked to begin by stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. This is an unusual meeting for us. We're trying to do a good job with it. I would encourage everyone to be very patient with me for sure, but with all of us, because we're trying very hard to do a good job for you. Scott?
Okay, the first person up to speak is Kat Gordon. You're now able to speak.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Kat.
Oh, okay. All right. My name is Kat Gordon, and I am speaking to you from the Whitehurst community out here in Fuquay-Varina. And I am speaking on account for how the rezoning or the zoning amendment is going to impact us. Rezoning for the Atwater Station development is going to significantly increase the amount of traffic. I'm not bringing anything new to the table here with that statement. Our concerns around that, once we do this rezoning, we increase our traffic. We are planning on routing some of that traffic through the Whitehurst community. Our community is not one that is set up for this. While it is an amazing design, and should we be retrofitted for some of the new standards that we are calling the level of safety as we see fit for our neighborhoods, we're simply just not there for it. Whitehurst has narrow roads. We have sharp blind corners. We are not fit to be connected to this. Rezoning for the residential that's going to butt up right against us is also going to allow for the non-residential area. That is an ambiguous term that is going to be part of the mixed use zoning amendment. We are also against this rezoning zoning amendment, as it will allow for pretty much anything. At this point in time, we're not comfortable with what could potentially happen to our neighborhood. We are also not comfortable with what could happen with the road right outside of us. Are we going to experience something like what happens when a Walmart comes in? Are we going to experience several smaller stores increasing traffic throughout the day and evening? This is something that concerns us, not just from a convenience standpoint. We understand that traffic measures are being put in place at the intersection of Bass Lake and James Slaughter. We also understand that you guys are looking at the area over by Needmore Farms and the Citgo gas station. But this is going to be every intersection around there that we have to go through. So while it may be mildly inconveniencing each and every one of them, as it stands right now, it takes me 15 minutes to get from Whitehurst to the bend at Bass Lake going into Holly Springs. Y'all, that's not a mile. And it's 15 minutes to go get my daughter just there. It takes me the same amount of time to get into Holly Springs from that point. We are having a hard time understanding what traffic measures could be put in place should this zoning amendment go forward that would allow and facilitate that kind of traffic increase, that we aren't going to see a negative impact. And let's say that this does mitigate any kind of negative impact coming, we're still in a rather rotten situation. We are still facing extreme timelines to get anywhere. I mean, I'm talking going up the road here. So for that reason and several other that specifically deal with the exact designs for Atwater Station, we are against rezoning or the zoning amendment as it stands right now for urban, mixed use, and residential.
Thank you so much, Kat.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person up to speak is Susan Hines. Please go ahead. Susan Hines, is now your turn to speak. Please unmute yourself.
Now.
There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Susan. Go right ahead.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Susan,
you hear
please
me
go
now?
right ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
Yes,
unmute,
Susan, please go ahead.
Notice. Yes. Okay. My address is 5436 Lafayette Drive, and that is on the corner of Lafayette Drive and Bass Lake Road. And this development would be directly across the street from our property, which is on that corner. And you've heard from me before, but the concern specifically about zoning is that there seems to be a lot of ambiguity about where the commercial areas would be. I've attended several meetings, and there's been, at one point, it was all going to be up around the intersection of James Slaughter and Westminster. And then at the last meeting, I believe it was the developers pointed out that it could be all along Bass Lake, including right in front of or right across the street from our house. So, you know, the rest of this area, as you've heard, all of the surrounding area, including 3 subdivisions and other private property, which much of which has only one house on it. These are single family dwellings completely, nothing else. And they are large lots. And so putting in, I've heard townhouses and I've heard apartments, and I know single family is included, but then we also have heard about commercial. So my concern is that this kind of a development would be out of place here in this location. I understand that the owners of the property want to sell it and that it can be developed at some point, but I would really, really like to see something that is in keeping with the rest of our areas, the rest of our neighborhoods, which would be single family housing. And I'm also very concerned about the construction, which will be right across the street from us, and the dirt and the noise. And if the commercial is right across the street from us with driveways going into there and parking and so forth, whereas homes could be perhaps moved back off the road somewhat so as to lessen the possibility of a lot of noise and traffic, dump trucks and other heavy equipment going in and out there, which I think would have a bad effect on our property and our enjoyment of our property and our quality of life. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much. I think this is using Zoom, this is a great thing. It seems to be working very well.
Susan, we appreciate that comment and appreciate you being on here tonight. We're trying hard to do a good job with this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Scott.
Okay, the next person to speak is Leslie Check. Please unmute your mic and you can speak.
Okay, hello. My name is Leslie Check. I'm in Sonoma Springs subdivision, Fuquay-Varina. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your time. I do feel, unfortunately, that the small town charm of Fuquay-Varina is somewhat being lost in approval and development of such high density neighborhoods, such as the proposed Atwater Station. I am firmly against this project, even though it doesn't affect me 100% directly. I do feel that building a single residential neighborhood is what could have been proposed in the first place, since the land was zoned to be residential. I do feel that seller and developer would have made plenty of money on a deal selling the land the way it was. But unfortunately, we're not at that issue. And I do implore you as commissioners to make the right decisions when you are asking residents to upend their way of life in a town that they truly love. Um, as Ms. Gordon mentioned earlier, she presented several issues that are still outstanding in the minds of the residents of the surrounding area of the project. I hope that you guys listen carefully, consider their questions, and respond with integrity. Don't just say you will do something. Just show, you need to show them exactly how, whatever you need to do, how you're going to do whatever you need to do to address their concerns. I spoke with Mr. Mitchell earlier today, and my concerns were, of course, overcrowding of schools. He did mention elementary and new middle schools are being built for the area, and I know that Fuquay-Varina High is being expanded, but what about the high schools? I mean, by the time the kids get there, we'll probably need another one. Water pressure, I know you, and water supply, I know you, Mr. Mitchell, mentioned there are about 15 years of water before we need to start making plan for more water, but that could change given the rate of growth. Fuquay-Varina is growing so fast, and the approval for projects like this to build houses on top of houses, I think we may need a little more assurance on how water could be affected. For the questions that Ms. Gordon and the residents have, that stand out to me are the walkability of the neighborhoods, considering now that they're going to be cut through neighborhoods. How exactly is the developer going to ensure that things will be included to help them feel safe, as for the most part, the traffic's going to affect them? As for ambiguous non-residential space mentioned, I think by both ladies previously, there needs to be wording in the proposal that shows what could be there. I think people are worried that there could be 3 to 4 story apartments or large retail stores being built there. I think that that's something that they're worried about. In conclusion, my main thoughts to you guys as commissioners tonight are, if there's something outstanding or something that residents in the surrounding neighborhoods of the project do not understand, I think you guys should do the right thing and table the vote until all items have been fully addressed and the residents know exactly what they're getting once construction starts. Don't think it's fair for them to maybe see something 3 or 4 years down the road that they brought up concerns about, but it was not resolved how they thought it was going to be. I know you guys are past your 60 days to make a vote on this, but I do implore you guys to do the right thing tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Scott?
Okay, the next person to speak is Kylie Schmidt. Please unmute your mic and speak.
Hi, I'm Kylie Schmidt. I'm at 2820 White Rail Drive in the Whitehurst neighborhood. And regarding the Atwater Station development, I'm wondering, what are the traffic calming measures planned for the connection street between Atwater Station and the Whitehurst neighborhood? This is the connector street of White Rail Drive. And we've been told that it's a stub street and it has to go through for safety measures for emergency vehicles. Whitehurst is a quiet neighborhood with quiet neighborhood streets, and we really want to keep it that way. We want to limit the flow of traffic going in and out of the back end of our neighborhood, which was previously essentially a dead-end street. We are concerned about the safety of our young children in the neighborhood, especially, and there are many of them. I request that you push the White Rail Drive connection street to the end of the development build I would also encourage the town to include traffic calming measures like bollards or roundabouts or road narrowing to slow traffic coming in and going out of the back end of Whitehurst into the Atwater Station development. So that's point one. Point two is the commercial and the apartments, potential apartment component. Obviously, all the neighbors in this area are concerned about the density increase. This is a big concern. This can cause traffic hazards, potentially even a crime increase. And so, you know, we want you to carefully consider the implications that including a commercial area and potentially apartments in that commercial area might have on the quality of life in our community. We don't want to be standing in the way of progress, but we also want to protect the quality of life that we moved here for. And so we just really, you know, implore you to consider that point of view when you're moving forward and, you know, things are actually being put into place with this development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kylie.
Okay, the next person to speak is a phone number ending in 4653.
Hi, this is Cynthia Reimel, and we live in Saddle Run at 5125 North Green Drive. And just wish to reiterate that the conditions to ensure the traffic mitigation measures are fully engaged early, not when warranted. In reading the statement, it said that certain measurements would be placed when warranted. And I just would like to encourage that when warranted is sooner rather than later. We're in the Saddle Run community, which is the horse community, with the whole community being the riding grounds for the horse owners here, and with no sidewalks and nowhere to take the horses off the road when traffic comes through. We have so much attention and concern about cut-through traffic, and would love to see the measures taken prior to construction, if at all possible. And really also want to thank you for including language about trying to take from discouraging to prohibit traffic through Westminster. So thank you to you all for doing that. And all right, great, thanks.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments.
Okay, the next person up to speak is Erica Anderson.
It's actually Eric Anderson. You can just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Yes, sir. We can hear you fine.
I'm at 5228 Westminster Lane in Saddle Run on the main.
Hold on, we lost him.
I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, you're good now.
All right. I live on Westminster Lane, opposite the new proposed James Slaughter Road, which will dead end at an intersection into our now through cut. Couple things I would like to reiterate that we do appreciate any verbiage that is specifically oriented to limiting any through traffic in our neighborhood. I also want to at least say out loud that we understand that you guys aren't necessarily our neighbors in proximity, even though you may be in Fuquay. And you very well may be people cutting through the neighborhood that we live in. And it is something that you wouldn't necessarily have experience or exposure to from a homeowner standpoint. And so just consider that as you're making these decisions. I would also like to see what the actual proposed and approved road plans are before the project were to be approved and start, to see and ensure that we can adequately discuss any of the features and make sure that they would do a good enough job at reducing or prohibiting through traffic. I understand that density and commercialization do increase the budget, and ignoring the complaints or plight of non-township residing Fuquay residents doesn't actually move the budget dollars at all for you guys, because we're not in the city, and so it's very easy to throw any concern aside because it doesn't actually affect a lot of what you guys do. But since we will probably eventually wind up there, please don't ignore us now. And I would also like to see if anyone would be willing to create a motion to table the decision on Atwater right now, since we don't know yet what the medium to long-term economic outcome of the entire COVID outbreak will result in. It would be absolutely tragic to start on this project for residential and or commercial use and get halfway through, and then either the developer run out of money, or even maybe finish it and have nobody to buy the houses and they sit empty. In terms of what we don't know, I think it's a lot more than what we do know, and it doesn't make sense to me to continue on the way that we had been, even over just the last few months. Just because we had made progress doesn't mean that continuing is the wisest decision. So I would really appreciate if you'd consider those things as we look over these options to change Fuquay forever.
Thank you very much, Eric. We appreciate your comments.
Okay, the next person to speak is Stephanie Hunn. Please unmute your mic.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Hune, and I live at 5405 Westminster Lane, also in the Saddle Run community. My initial concern was the safety along Westminster Lane. I am grateful that Baker Construction and Withers and Ravenel have worked with Saddle Run residents to try and mitigate the traffic and cut through. I would, however, like to see what that wording looks like. And I'd really like to see it in wording that any changes to that intersection be done before any construction is done, and also notifying all GPS navigation of changes. So we are not getting construction vehicles, any new residents coming through our neighborhood and creating a safety hazard. My final concern is the mixed use commercial zoning. To us, it's known as the scary pink blob on this map. And at the last meeting, it was mentioned it could be anything. Anything is scary. Anything could mean apartments, equaling more people. It could be stores, which could equal more people. It's scary. And I think those of us who live so close, like Saddle Run and Whitehurst, they will be our neighbors. And I feel like we would like to be stakeholders in this and not feel like we are left in the dark. And right now it feels like, okay, we're going to approve this, but what is it really going to look like in 5 years? And that's scary. So I just ask that it stay cohesive. In a perfect world, of course it would stay farms. But obviously it's going to be built. And why can't it be single family homes that are cohesive with Whitehurst, with Saddle Run, to those neighboring communities? I just ask that you hear us today and don't forget us in the ETJ. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. We appreciate your comments. Scott?
Okay, the next person to speak is Diane Whitmore, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can, Diane.
Great. Thank you so much for hosting this tonight. Really appreciate the opportunity for speaking. My name is Diane Whitmore, And I am at 158 Moss Creek Place in Sunset Bluffs, development off of Herbert Akins Road. Appreciate your time and attention tonight. My husband and I are sitting together, and we have been residents of Sunset Bluffs neighborhood in Fuquay-Varina for the past 5 years. And our property happens to be nearby the proposed Atwater Station development at the corner of James Slaughter and Bass Lake Road. Our primary concern about the development as it's been proposed is that this type of development is very different compared to Sunset Bluffs, Mill Ridge, and some of the surrounding neighborhoods that we have seen developed over the last couple of years. And particularly, we are concerned about the mixed use and commercial portion of the proposed neighborhood. And in particular, we're really concerned about the impact that it would have on the existing roads that surround Sunset Bluffs. We know that it's become increasingly difficult to turn on on Bass Lake Road from Herbert Akins, as well as on James Slaughter Road from Herbert Akins Road. And as you know, our neighborhood continues to grow. And so our concern is the amount of growth that will be impacted by both our neighborhood as well as this proposed development as it stands today. We are not at all opposed to progress and development because we have really enjoyed the positive changes in our particular neighborhood and some of the surrounding neighborhoods over the last 5 years. We would just ask for your consideration in terms of how this has been particularly designed and what impact that might have on the roads that are primarily used by the residents of Sunset Bluffs. And in particular, we would really appreciate if the council could consider either a 4-way stop or a stoplight at the intersections of Bass Lake Road and Herbert Akins Road, as well as Bass Lake Road and James Slaughter Road. We feel that that might control or better manage the traffic and its impact on the folks in Sunset Bluffs. So that's all I had. Thank you again for your consideration, and we appreciate being heard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. Appreciate your comments. Scott?
Okay, the next person up to speak is Brendy Vega.
Hi, this is Brendy Vega with Withers Ravenel. And I'd like to say that for the Atwater project, we understand the public hearing to be closed, and we are prepared to respond to all of the comments and correct information if the board wishes to hear from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brendy. Scott?
Okay, the next person up to speak is Sue Dorian.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Adorian. I live at 1220 Mallard Creek Court in the Whitehurst subdivision in Fuquay-Varina. And I had sent an email to the commissioners this morning. I'm not sure if you got it, but I would like to just quickly reread it in case you didn't. And I had been on the town website this morning and other times too. And I want to address the motto of our town, Fuquay-Varina, a dash more. A dash more indicates the town offers something extra. Unfortunately, the something extra, which used to be small town charm, beautiful homes, comfortable subdivisions, quaint boutiques and shops, is being replaced with unbearable traffic, mediocre subdivisions, and irresponsible growth. When the town rolled out this new slogan, it was published in the N&O and was covered by WRAL News. What I am most concerned about is the preservation of the quality of life in our town. Change is inevitable, but doing it responsibly is critical. I'm going to quote the town manager, Adam Mitchell, who said, Fuquay-Varina is a small town with a big personality. Fuquay lives at the intersection of a small, charming southern atmosphere with a vibrant, inviting community. It would appear that we have crossed over this intersection. I'm also going to quote Mayor Byrne, who stated in a news release to the NNO, Fuquay-Varina has the reputation for being an up-and-coming community that is rich in history and tradition. It is my hope that the town commissioners will think carefully about the short-term and long-term impact of the Atwater Station project before voting in favor of this development. We are depending on you to maintain the character and quality of life in Fuquay-Varina. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne.
Okay, our last speaker is just named Shannon.
Okay, can you hear okay?
Yes.
This is Barney Oaks and Shannon Oaks, and we live in the Bentwing subdivision. And we've lived here for 35 years. And we've seen Fuquay from pretty much its earliest days of growth till now. And it's been a challenge going from no stop signs at any of the crossroads, to stop signs, to street lights, to now you have traffic jams. And that happens in a lot of places, as you've been hearing tonight. We're concerned that we don't have the infrastructure in place in order to facilitate the traffic that we're going to have not only today, but in the future. Because out here where we live, there's still a lot of empty fields, and we have trouble getting on Sunset Lake Road, Hilltop Needmore Road, and Johnson Pond Road when we go out any of those exits away from our subdivision. And there's just more and more subdivisions going up in all directions. It's again, and I concur with the other statements tonight about it being single family homes. That's what's attracted folks down here to Fuquay-Varina, is the fact that we're single family homes. Also, what other folks have said about being a small town, and in that particular way that people can meet and greet and know each other. And if we start bringing in huge developments with a lot of commercialization, it's really not going to make it more convenient for folks. It's going to make it harder for folks to actually get their shopping done and other things that they need to do. And if we're not extremely careful, that future development will be hampered, and in some aspects will actually be stymied. And we don't want that, because what we've done thus far has brought us a long ways. And we're starting to see now just some of the choke points, because it's just growing so fast, because we do have that reputation that everybody's been talking about being a great place to live. And again, as I said before, your decisions that you make today is going to have a great impact on future expansions and development. And we want folks to still feel good about coming here, and not to be talking about the traffic and how hard it is to get their kids to school, et cetera, because we need all the good people that can move in here just like they have today. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to talk, and I trust that you and your families are all safe and well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shannon. We appreciate your comments and being online with us.
Mr. Mayor, let me just ask real quick, Scott, were there any other ones other than the last one?
No.
Mr. Mayor, there were a number of questions that were asked tonight during the public comment period by the public. And earlier you heard from Brindy Vega with Withers and Ravenel that was representing the developers or petitioners at Atwater Station, and offered to answer some of those questions. At the advice upon our legal counsel, the public comment period would be the time for Brindy to do that if the board so wished. And she is available to respond and answer those questions. At the recommendation of our legal counsel, this would be the time for her to do that, not during the agenda item.
Okay, I think it's fine then.
Scott.
Okay, Brindy.
Okay, well, we want to clarify that there are no apartments allowed in the development, and we are available to answer any other questions you may have.
Brandy, just for clarification, I don't believe that the mayor or the town board have any questions for the petitioner at this time. This was an opportunity which you did address apartments. If you wanted to address any other questions that were raised by the public during the public comment period.
No, just that we are working with the town and NCDOT to figure out what those traffic controls will look like at Realign James Slaughter and Bass Lake. We can't design those without getting into design of the roadway, but we did put language in the commitments that we are committed to doing that and working with the town, working with NCDOT to get those traffic controls in place and to have a traffic light when it is warranted and permitted by NCDOT. As far as the Whitehurst subdivision, we understand that there's concerns about us getting connected. We do feel that Atwater residents will not travel through their neighborhood to get out to James Slaughter, since they will have direct access to it from other roads in their own subdivision. That's all we'd like to add for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your being there in those comments. Adam, anything else for us?
Mayor, there does appear to be one other person wishing to speak during the public comment period.
Yes, Kylie Schmidt, she's already spoken.
Mayor, you have to make a call if you want to allow her to speak again. She's already spoken during the public comment period.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Let's let Kylie speak. Kylie?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to quickly follow up on Brandy's comments, and maybe she can clarify some things. The one point about the apartments at the February 18th town hall meeting, there was some conversation that said that apartments would be allowed potentially in the commercial areas on the second floor. And so I wasn't sure if that was accurate or not. Well, second floor and up to a certain height level. And then my other question is that, you know, Whitehurst is not only concerned about traffic flowing into our neighborhood from Atwater, but we're also concerned about our neighbors going through the back end of our neighborhood to get to a potential commercial area. So you have to think about that traffic flow as well. It's two-sided. That is all.
Thank you, Kylie. Anything else, Mr. Town Manager?
We have no others.
Okay.
No others, Mayor. I think that concludes the public comment period.
Okey doke. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6A, items tabled from previous meetings. Zoning map amendment, Withers and Ravenel, 3232 and 3121 James Slaughter Road and 1800 Bass Lake Road, REZ 2019-19. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 126.33 acres located at 3232 and 3121 James Slaughter Road and 1800 Bass Lake Road to the residential mixed-use RMU, neighborhood mixed-use NMU, and urban mixed-use UMU zoning districts. The subject properties are located in the town's corporate limits. Currently, the properties are a mix of undeveloped farmland and forest area with a single-family home and a telecommunications tower. 1800 Bass Lake Road is the site of a single-family home. These properties were recently annexed as the subject of annexation petition 2019-13. The zoning map amendment petition requests approval of the residential RMU, neighborhood mixed-use NMU, and urban mixed-use UMU zoning districts at the subject properties, which are intended to permit a variety of residential and non-residential uses. These are form-based zoning districts that require a master plan with the zoning approval. The master plan proposes maximum densities of 4 units per acre in the RMU zoning district and 5 units per acre in the NMU zoning district. The proposed densities are considerably less than the maximum allowable densities of 18 units per acre in the RMU zoning district and 22 units per acre in the NMU zoning district. The LDO does not implement a maximum density in the UMU zoning district. The location and reduced density within the RMU district, as shown on the southern portion of the project site, is intended to provide a transitional area from existing neighborhoods to the more urban character of this form-based project. Similarly, civic and open spaces have been located along the western and southern boundaries of the property within the RMU and NMU zoning districts to serve as a buffer. Non-residential development is included in all 3 zoning districts, with the non-residential areas located along the frontages of Bass Lake and James Slaughter Roads, and along the eastern boundary of the property, with the highest intensity non-residential uses located in the NMU and UMU districts. It is the intention of the LDO to permit the higher density uses furthest from adjacent lower density residential neighborhoods and in proximity to major thoroughfares as proposed in the master plan. The master plan proposes a number of civic spaces, including along a private 10-foot wide multi-use path, which is intertwined throughout the property. Additional civic spaces are provided throughout all 3 districts for the benefit of citizens who will live, work, and play in this community. The minimum civic space required in a form-based zoning district master plan is 5% of the project area. The proposed master plan provides for dedication of 10.63% of the project area, or a total of 13.46 acres. Surrounding properties are primarily residential. The Needmore Ruritan Club adjoins the properties to the north. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the mixed-use neighborhood MUN classification at the subject properties. The MUN classification calls for a mixture of housing types and residential densities integrated with amenities and services in a walkable center. The requested zoning districts are consistent with the 2035 Land Use Plan. Public water and sewer are available to serve the subject properties and will be installed with future development. The subject properties are located along and have access to Bass Lake Road and James Slaughter Road. The 2035 Community Transportation Plan, CTP, classifies Bass Lake Road as a 110-foot right-of-way. This thoroughfare is identified as a 4-lane median divided road with side paths. Currently, it is a 2-lane road. Future development of the subject properties will require dedication of half of the required 110-foot right-of-way and construction of half of the identified cross-section consistent with our CTP. James Slaughter Road is classified as an 80-foot right-of-way in the CTP. This street is identified as a 3-lane median divided road with turn lanes and side paths. It is currently a 2-lane road. Future development of the subject properties will require dedication of the required 80-foot right-of-way and construction of the entirety of the identified cross-section consistent with our CTP. The Community Transportation Plan includes several collector streets by extension of the existing stub street, White Rail Drive, from the south at the subject properties. Future development will require compliance with collector street provisions in accordance with the CTP. The local street network identified in the master plan provides stub streets at appropriate locations to be extended with future development of adjacent properties. The master plan proposes the realignment of James Slaughter Road to square up with the intersection at Bass Lake Road. This realignment is intended to improve the safety of turning movements at the intersection. Consistent with NCDOT standards, the intersection is proposed to align with Westminster Lane. There shall be installation of traffic control devices that will prohibit legal southbound movement from Westminster Lane south of Bass Lake Road to James Slaughter Road and the northbound movement from James Slaughter Road north of Bass Lake Road to Westminster Lane. That will be completed prior to the reopening of James Slaughter Road. Provided traffic control devices will allow emergency service access. The thoroughfare improvements and James Slaughter intersection realignment proposed in the master plan will be provided with the first phase of development. Future development of the subject property will trigger a traffic impact analysis at the preliminary subdivision plat and/or site plan phase, which will identify and specify any off-site improvements that may be required in conjunction with the thoroughfare and intersection improvements identified in both the community transportation plan and the master plan. The master plan proposes an off-site improvement at Herbert Akins Road and Bass Lake Road intersection, the extent of which is to be determined by the results of the traffic impact analysis. If the improvement project is deemed infeasible, the town, pending approval by the Board of Commissioners, will accept a payment in lieu for 125% of the estimated cost of the project to be used to complete the project in the future. The master plan additionally proposes improvement at the Bass Lake Road and Sunset Lake Road intersection to the east of the subject property. The proposal states that an eastbound turn lane from Bass Lake Road to Sunset Lake Road shall be installed at the intersection. If the improvement project is deemed infeasible, the town, pending approval by the Board of Commissioners, will accept a payment in lieu of 125% of the estimated cost of the project to be used to complete the project in the future. The petitioner held a neighborhood meeting on August 19th of 2019 and had several follow-up meetings thereafter, and there are meeting reports attached in your agenda materials. Management and staff are recommending approval of the proposed zoning map amendment. It is consistent with our 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and is reasonable in the best interest of the public for following reasons. One, the master plan included with the petition fulfills the intent of the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan by establishing viable non-residential areas along James Slaughter Road and Bass Lake Road, creating the opportunity for non-residential uses to serve residents in a walkable environment. Second, transitions are proposed between existing and future development with higher intensity uses located along major thoroughfares and lower intensity uses and open space areas located adjacent to existing development to improve compatibility. Third, an appropriate internal transportation network is provided throughout the project area. There are several access points from multiple means of ingress and egress to the subject property. There is an adequate network of internal streets that connect each district within the proposed master plan through a variety of street types and sizes to adequately carry anticipated traffic and provide reasonable vehicular and pedestrian traffic accommodations. Fourth, the proposed thoroughfare and intersection alignment improvements will improve the safety and capacity of the transportation network. These improvements will support future development in the project area consistent with the proposed master plan. And fifth, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan designation of mixed-use neighborhood and would allow for the proposed uses. Some additional information and context are that management and staff have been in discussions with the petitioner regarding the realignment of the intersection to the northwest of the subject properties at Bass Lake and Herbert Akins Road in consideration of our community transportation plan. The petitioner addresses those concerns about the current intersection alignment expressed by citizens and town staff as a part of their master plan. At the December 16, 2019 regular meeting, the town planning board unanimously voted to recommend approval with the recommendation to add conditions regarding the alignment of the intersection at Herbert Akins and Bass Lake Roads and the placement of single-family homes adjacent to existing single-family homes. The planning board found this request reasonable and in the best interest of the public for those reasons that were identified by staff. After the planning board meeting, prior to January 6th of this year, the town board meeting, and upon discussion with staff, the petitioner requested to table consideration of the annexation and zoning map amendment petitions for this property to January 21st of this year to respond to the recommendations made by the planning board. The town board approved the petitioner's request to table consideration of the case to the January 21st, 2020 meeting. Prior to the January 21st, 2020 meeting, the town board meeting, the petitioner again requested to table the annexation and zoning map amendment petitions for these properties to February 3rd to further explore neighborhood concerns and options for intersection improvements. The town board approved the petitioner's request to table consideration of the case to the February 3rd meeting. Before that meeting on February 3rd, the petitioner requested that the annexation and zoning map amendment petitions for this property again be tabled to February 18th to allow additional time to address the alignment of the Bass Lake Road and Herbert Akins Road intersection. The petitioner provided an updated master plan for consideration that incorporates additional community character conditions, highlighted the proposed locations of single-family detached homes, acknowledged that the TIA will explore traffic mitigation options where there is a potential impact on adjacent neighborhoods, and addressed additional traffic concerns voiced by town staff and residents from surrounding neighborhoods. At the February 18th Town Board meeting, a public hearing was opened and closed following comments offered by those both in favor of and against the zoning map amendment petition. Concerns were raised about the impact of the proposal on the adjacent Bass Lake Road, Sunset Lake Road intersection, and the board asked staff and the petitioner to review possible improvements at this intersection. The rezoning was tabled until March 17th at the regular town board meeting to allow staff and the petitioner to pursue potential impact mitigation. Additionally, the annexation for the subject properties was approved by the town board at the February 18th meeting. Since that meeting, the petitioner has spent a considerable amount of time working with staff and management, as well as the surrounding neighbors of the subject property, to produce a mutually agreeable product. Additional off-site infrastructure improvements have been offered to directly address concerns raised by the board at the February 18th town board meeting. This work is reflected in the master plan and the master plan written document, both of which support the intent of the LDO, the Land Development Ordinance. Additionally, the petitioner is in negotiations with the current property owner of the property south of Bass Lake Road at the Sunset Lake Road, Bass Lake Road intersection, who is in support of the petitioner's land acquisition in order to construct a designated right-hand turn lane from eastbound Bass Lake Road onto southbound Sunset Lake Road. A survey is also being conducted to identify current and required right-of-way. Due to social distancing protocol that's been put in place by the town, this case was delayed from the March 17th, 2020 meeting to the April 6th, 2020 regular meeting, and then again to tonight's meeting as COVID-19 protocols were extended. There is no fiscal note to report on this item as it is a zoning map amendment petition. This is an item tabled from a previous meeting. There is no public hearing as it was opened and closed at the February 18th meeting. The recommended motion to the town board is to approve REZ 2019-19, a zoning map amendment located at 3232 and 3121 James Slaughter Road and 1800 Bass Lake Road to the residential mixed use RMU, neighborhood mixed use NMU, and urban mixed use UMU zoning districts as presented and recommended. I do have just a few additional context items to bring to the board and the public's attention. Again, this zoning map amendment was tabled on February 18th due to concerns raised by the town board related to the transportation impacts of this petition. Specifically, the town board requested that the developer consider making changes to the master plan as follows. 1, replace the word discourage with the word prohibit in section 12.2.2 related to the installation of traffic control devices at the James Slaughter Bass Lake Road intersection, realigned intersection, excuse me, thereby eliminating the possibility of north-southbound traffic movement. This was agreed to by the petitioner and provided in the amended master plan. Second, was to add language to the condition 12.2.2 to ensure a means of access for emergency service vehicles into the Saddle Run subdivision via Westminster Lane from James Slaughter Road. This was agreed to and provided in the amended master plan. Third, add language in the conditions to make road improvements consistent with the community transportation plan for 2 parcels that are not the subject of the zoning map amendment and master plan, but that are adjacent to properties that are a part of the master plan along Bass Lake Road. After further evaluation and analysis, it was determined that this request was not feasible due to it likely requiring a full taking of the parcels due to right-of-way and construction requirements. This language is not provided in the amended master plan, and town staff does not recommend it being required as a condition of the zoning map amendment and master plan approval. Fourth, add language in the conditions to the master plan that agree to the physical improvements to the intersection at Bass Lake Road and Sunset Lake Road. After evaluation, this was agreed to and added to the amended master plan. Specifically, 12.3 agrees to the installation of an eastbound right turn lane from Bass Lake Road onto Sunset Lake Road, subject to NCDOT approval and commercially reasonable efforts to obtain the necessary right-of-way. Additionally, the petitioners added a fifth condition as it relates to the Bass Lake, Westminster, James Slaughter intersection, which is found in 12.2.1 of the amended master plan. This condition states that the application shall provide a traffic signal at the realigned intersection when warranted and approved by NCDOT, and the signal will be timed with the traffic light at the intersection of Bass Lake and Sunset Lake Road. Earlier this evening, the comment of warranted came up by someone from the public. I want to be clear that these are state roads, and so NCDOT has the final say on when any of these applications are warranted and allowed to be installed. As a reminder, again, there is not a public hearing for this agenda item tonight. The public hearing was both opened and closed at the February 18th meeting, having been duly advertised, and after comments were provided by those in favor of and in opposition to the petition. I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have. I have submitted this agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. The public hearing has been open and closed on February the 18th, 2020. Is there any discussion by the board? Commissioner or Mayor Pro Tem Massengill.
Thank you, Mayor. I've unmuted myself. Several of these points that were brought up were things that I brought up and discussed at the public hearing after hearing comments from the public, and also correspondence with some of the surrounding public right there. You mentioned, Manager, I kind of summarized a few of your places, and some of this may sound redundant for people, but this is mainly for people that are listening so that they hear it and understand clearly what's going on. Intersection of Bass Lake and Herbert Akins Road intersection. The town wants that to be, it was mentioned earlier about either stoplight or stop signs or something being done there to that hairpin turn. The town wants it to be done. The town's in favor of it. DOT will not let it be done, right? And correct me on any of this, the comments I'm making. DOT will not allow it to be done right now. So since DOT owns the roads, they said, no, it can't be done. And instead the developers is putting the total cost of it plus 25% in deposit with the town, so that the town may in the future improve it when DOT allows it. But the developer's willing to, the town wants it to be done, simply stated DOT is saying no right now. Is that correct?
That is correct. The developer has had a dialogue with NCDOT, and right now NCDOT does not deem it to be warranted at this time.
So they can put the money in it with the town. And so it's not a matter of anyone in this room not wanting it to be done, not agreeing. Everybody does is DOT. DOT owns the road.
Correct.
Intersection. We talk about traffic calming procedures, and we mentioned discourage versus prohibit. That was a word last time that was important to me to be changed from discourage to prohibit. And so, and I've received correspondence from people asking how do you prohibit someone from doing that? And that's simply because concrete medians are put in and it's blocked. It's not possible to drive straight unless you're an emergency vehicle, which can essentially do anything they want to and respond to emergency anyway. But that the public can't drive straight back and forth. James Slaughter's not going to dump all the traffic into Westminster. And if somebody was to try to drive straight, then they're going to be jumping over a median and breaking the law and would get a ticket for it. Is that correct?
That is correct. The public will not be able to legally travel north or southbound across that intersection.
And it's not a matter of do not even signs. It's illegal. You'll get a ticket. You mentioned earlier a stoplight right there, which developer, they have done studies and done the traffic impact analysis, want to put a stoplight there. DOT's not quite yet said whether they're going to allow it or not, but that they are volunteering to put a stop light there if DOT warrants it. Warrant, as I asked you earlier today, what that meant. That's DOT's fancy word of when they allow something or not. Not necessarily do we think it should be done, but as much as we want something to be done, DOT can also prohibit it from being done.
That is correct. The petitioner has done some level of analysis. They haven't designed it yet because we're not at that stage, but they have done some level of analysis and had some dialogue already with NCDOT, but DOT will have the final call as to when the timing is warranted for that stoplight to be there. The petitioner is prepared and willing through the master plan to offer the installation of that stoplight.
And we would expect that made that improvement, for instance, as I talk about some of these improvements that I wanted done before any construction happened, that would be an example of the road improvements would be done, but that's day one before anything starts, because DOT may say, no, you've got to have some people living there before we're going to let you put that stoplight in. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So then all of the road improvements going through here, meaning road widening, will take place. You come down to Sunset Lake Road intersection. That was something that I discussed last time too, about having some kind of improvement in that intersection. And this is where they're volunteering to put a right-hand turn lane in there. The property, they have to purchase right away. Obviously the property beside it's for sale, and you said earlier they've had dialogues there, and that the property owner on the corner wants to sell his property. I mean, hence there's a for sale sign in front of it. I think it's pretty obvious, and that therefore that right-hand turn lane will go in also.
That is correct. The petitioner is prepared to offer that in their master plan.
Okay, so all these things, when we talk about, just for the public to understand, when you say prepared to offer, it's been offered. It is happening. It's assuming it gets approved tonight. That's what we are approving. These types of things. It's not later changing their mind and not doing it. It goes into the master plan. It must be done. Or if the project was sold to somebody else must do it also.
That is correct.
Okay. It was mentioned earlier about stub roads. And there's a stub road that's on the far west side of this property, and this was discussed at the public hearing. It's been a policy of the town to require stub roads for any kind of undeveloped property, so that at some point it may be connected right there. And so no different than any neighborhood that has a stub street in it, selling up to vacant land, they can also expect that will be connected at some point.
That too is correct.
Okay. And this would be something I asked the developer at the Whitehurst neighborhood, the street that's been discussed for through traffic that they're concerned about. What's that name of that street called again? White Rail. These are public roads, DOT owned roads, and so you can't simply block roads off for infinitely from people driving on any of these roads. But I do know in the past that I've seen construction be blocked off and barriers put up so that construction vehicles cannot drive through and cut through neighborhoods, and that's been the conditions that developers have done in the past. That's something that the board could ask tonight to developer to put in the barricades there and block any kind of construction traffic and not remove that until planning of the last phase.
That is correct. The board can ask that of the developer, and the developer can offer that as a condition if the board wishes.
Okay. That's something I would be in favor of tonight. That condition that will at least address some of the concerns of construction cut through traffic. One of the things I think the public has got to realize too, as much as may be frustrating for construction vehicles to cut through, often residents in those neighborhoods want to be able to drive through there. It's going to prohibit them too. It's simply nobody will be able to drive to connect through it at that point. I'm fine with that condition. You mentioned earlier also that, excuse me, the lady that spoke earlier said no apartments. I heard her say those words. Is that correct?
She did. She went on record and said there would be no apartments for this project.
Is it?
I do not. I'm not aware that that is stated in the master plan document. I could call on our planning director to verify that if we give us 1 second here.
I think that's
let's ask Pam. Can you weigh in on whether the master plan is clear that there will not be apartments? Go ahead.
I can go check to be sure. There are no apartments slated in the residential district right now. The woman earlier mentioned the one way that apartments can occur in the non-residential district is to be upper level with first floor commercial. That has not been eliminated specifically, but at this point in time, there are no proposed apartment complexes listed in the master plan, although they have not been banned.
Okay, Pam, so I heard the petitioner or the representative of the petitioner say earlier, no apartments. And I heard somebody from public ask about it.
So Mayor Pro Tem, and we can get clarification from the petitioner. I believe they'll have to signal they wish to speak, and then Scott can provide them the opportunity to respond. My interpretation or understanding of Brandy Vega, I believe, is who made the comment. her remarks relate to the portion of the overall master plan that the petitioner, in this case, the developer, plans to develop, which is all of the residential piece of it, everything that's in sort of yellow and green, not the peach color. And so I believe she was speaking to, there's no apartments that they plan to do as a part of the project in the residential components of the neighborhood, not the non-residential, but we probably should get clarification to your question on that. She is available to speak to respond to that.
Get clarification. Okay.
A follow-up question.
All right, go ahead and let, it's
Brendy Vega.
Brendy Vega speak.
Hi, I have sent Pam the page of the master plan document where it states that there are no residential units provided in the UMU district. And there are no intentions to do it also in the NMU or RMU.
So Mayor Pro Tem, to your question, the entire project area, it is stated, as I understood it from Brendy just now, that apartments will not be a part of this development in any of the districts, RMU, NMU, or UMU, and those are all on the screen in front of you.
Okay.
I'd like to get that statement from Pam as well.
Mayor, we'll try to ask them there, please. So what there was no intentions for that versus another comment of that they were fully prohibited from that. We're talking about the same thing.
Pam, have you received that?
Yes, so there is a table in their master plan that specifically says under the UMU district, no residential is provided in the UMU. And the UMU would be the density that would be allowing apartments.
So then,
so they specifically call out in the NMU district, small lot, single family, and townhome for both the NMU and the RMU district. And then they say no residential provided in the UMU district.
So manager, what does that mean? Apartments are allowed on project, not allowed on project.
I want to make sure we're all on the same page here and getting clarification from Pam. Pam, yes or no? Apartments are or are not allowed in the project per the master plan?
The only way apartments would be permitted would be in the non-residential areas as a mixed-use product with commercial on the first floor and apartments above. So there would be no apartments are proposed for the residential uses proposed on this plan. The non-commercial uses at this point are undefined.
So just a point of clarification here, for example, what our planning director has said is no apartments and residential development components. However, you have that sound. However, if there is a mixed use development, there could be apartments on the second floor or upper floors of commercial development.
Okay.
Which is in line with what the town said beforehand.
Echoing in my back ear, Scott.
I think everybody needs to be on mute except for Mayor Pro.
Okay. So then a traditional multi-story apartment building will not be built here, but it could be something that had commercial down below and people living up above, which I mean, I think that's pretty common with these type, when you have that type of commercial stuff put in. I don't think any of us foresee this as the commercial side of it getting developed right now. And what you mentioned beforehand is that this residential developer here is not purchasing the non-residential side of it.
That is correct.
Okay, so it's something that would be commercial there or non-residential would be there, and I do, which I live right around the corner from here, and I do see non-residential being there eventually. The traffic was discussed earlier on Bass Lake Road, which is going to ultimately be renamed Hilltop Nemore Road, just like Herbert Akins Road is renamed Hilltop Nemore Road, and all of that is planned to be a 4-lane divided median road, or like a better word, very similar to a highway, which goes back to Highway 55, which is 4 lanes with a divided median. And the plans, transportation plans show this whole road and thoroughfare connecting back to Highway 55. So therefore, it's expected and planned to be a large volume of traffic on here at some point, which by putting in these road improvements and connecting back to Highway 55, that will give opportunities for just for traffic and people to get out of here. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm not sure, Mayor, that there is a question that, or should be an answer that has not been answered from the questions I posted at the last public hearing. I understand some people don't want growth or only want single family, which the landscape of Fuquay-Varina is constantly changing. And with what you see here, I believe traffic and transportation projects, which were so strongly mentioned last time and so strongly important to me right here, nearly every one of them has been addressed to the best of anyone's ability that can be done right there. We have a developer and the town of Fuquay-Varina saying they want these improvements to go in. DOT, somebody's willing to pay for them, not the town. The town is not paying for this project. The town is not developing this project, but a developer that's paying for it. And the only thing that may shorten any of these improvements would be if DOT said no, they don't want those improvements put in, and then the developer's going to do 125% payment in lieu. The developer wants to get these put in. He's going to be, I imagine, lobbying DOT as hard as he can to put the projects in, so he only pays 100% instead of 125%. Those are my comments.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem Massengale. I saw Commissioner Harris's name up. I didn't know if he had a comment.
Mr. Mayor, I just have a few comments. I've listened to the residents of the various communities and subdivisions, and their concerns are indeed warranted, and we take.
Commissioner Harris, I'm sorry to interrupt. We're having an audio. Are you muted or unmuted, Commissioner Harris?
I'm unmuted now.
You are, yes, sir. If
Okay.
you'll start over again, please.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak. I take to heart the comments made from the residents of the different subdivisions, and I know this is a major change for residents there who've had a sort of quiet, serene lifestyle. And given the fact that we have to contend with growth in Wake County and in this area, it's finally has come to us. It seems as if the petitioner has made every effort to address some of the concerns of the neighbors and to address some of their concerns as it relates to changing their community significantly. I applaud the petitioner for trying to entertain the concerns of the residents and to meet them halfway in regards to adjusting their original petition. I think it's just a point where we're at the crossroads when it comes to looking at answering and responding to the questions of growth. Certainly, this area is growing and it will never be the same. It's changing, and I'm sure in some instances it's sort of scary because no one knows what to predict. But at the same time, when you consider the benefit to the community and to the town of Fuquay-Varina as it relates to what the developer has addressed, I think that this project is in turn warranted.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Any other comments from board members? If not, what is the pleasure? I've got a comment, Commissioner Wunsch.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know prior to this meeting, we were very concerned about traffic mitigation in this project and traffic calming. And prior to this meeting, if I'm correct, it would have been up to DOT to make these changes, or we would have had to wait for them to make them. And what I was, as Commissioner Harris and Mayor Pro Tem said, what I was impressed with is that now when these are allowed, we don't have to wait for DOT to get around to do it, that it would be the responsibility and the burden on the developer to do it, to provide this traffic mitigation, so that people weren't in limbo until DOT found it as a priority project to do. So I think that that was one of the major concerns that our board had as we considered this project. And as the Mayor Pro Tem said, and Commissioner Harris said, that those concerns have been addressed. That was a major concern for me, and I'm in support of this. Had these concerns been addressed, and as has already been mentioned, they were almost fully addressed to the extent practical. I'm not sure that I could think of anything more that could have been done that hasn't already been proposed and examined. And I think this extra time, as there were some comments that maybe if we had some extra time, that some other things could be settled, but there has been a substantial amount of time and even more time due to the COVID virus. So I'm very impressed, as has already been stated, that these things were addressed and that this traffic mitigation, which was a major concern of our board, could be considered and addressed.
Thank you, Commissioner Wunsch. Any other discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Massengill.
I had to turn my microphone back on. Mayor, before making any motions, as mentioned earlier, a condition, and I believe the manager said that the petitioner was in favor of blocking off that for construction traffic. Manager, with this type of project, it's a little different than a traditional phasing neighborhood with phase lines. How does the platting and how does the blockade come into place right here? Because as much as, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'd like our planning director to just give some context to that, perhaps our engineering director as well. But my understanding is that the petitioner is prepared to offer the construction traffic blockading or barricading as a condition. And Pam, do you want to weigh in additional to the Mayor Pro Tem's question about the process and the timing for each?
Sure. Generally speaking, we are willing to let them blockade off adjacent stub roads until those roads become platted and become town maintained public roads. The other issue often is the number of lots. We have certain thresholds. 120 is the first, that we need certain more than one access point. I don't think that would come into play just because of the number of access points we already have onto James Slaughter. So I think that the key would be is when that road is accepted by the town and recorded and platted as a public road is probably when that barricade needs to come up.
Okay, so looking at the pretty picture rainbow drawing with all different colors on it, this is road G that we're talking about. You have 3 roads that connect onto James Slaughter Road. This is one of those deals that the neighborhood could have a substantial amount of construction, or the project, I should say, could have a substantial amount of construction completed before that construction barricade is removed. It may not be 100% of every single dwelling built out there, but that it could be a large majority from that standpoint. Is that what you're telling me? It's not simply the whole neighborhood would be platted and not a single house is built and then the road's opened.
No, so generally with preliminary, they're going to set up phasing. That's not done at this stage. So when that phasing is set up, that road will be constructed with that specific phase. And once it's recorded, it would then be a public road. And that's when the home construction on that phase would begin. So it could be barricaded during the entire infrastructure installation
Okay,
for
so
that phase.
You said for the phasing, and I understand that completely. We have not had preliminary approval come through yet, so we don't know the phase lines, but since the developer is willing to condition it for construction, could we make a condition that would be the last phase?
You could either make a condition that's the last phase, or you could actually say that road would be barricaded and shut until that specific phase were recorded. You can either go either way on that one.
And the public doesn't, and the developer may not either, but just doesn't want to be the first phase. So that it's immediately open and then all the houses go through. The infrastructure is not the main concern of construction traffic as much as it is for all the construction traffic that comes with houses. So that's my concern there. So then my request is the developer willing to add a condition that barricade and construction will be part of the very last phase.
So, Mr. Mayor, for the public record, it would be, to respond to the Mayor Pro Tem's question, it would be appropriate to ask the developer, the petitioner, to respond to that. Have they raised their hand and okay, so they're ready to respond.
Okay, I would like to hear their response.
I just want to get clarification on, are you talking about just the residential portion phasing or commercial as well? We are good to barricade that until it's required to be opened.
Manager, my concern for them is that they would make it the last phase of the residential construction because they're not constructing the non-residential side of it.
Brandy or Pam, do either one of you want to weigh in on that? At some point, we're going to need the petitioner to acknowledge if they are or are not willing to make the removal of the removal of the barricade following the last phase of construction.
So basically then that section of roadway should be included in the last phase of construction to make that work.
Yeah, now that's and that east side of the property. Now the west side is irrelevant for us. This is the east side that we're talking about. And they may phase this into 7 phases and put all 7 phases on the ground at one time, but at least it will be part of the last phase. I don't believe sewer's coming from there or anything. I mean,
I'm drawing an arrow on the map. Is that the area you're referring to?
Yes, sir. That's correct. There's no sewer coming from there. You can still connect to water lines, anything that's wanted there, just simply be barricaded off from a construction standpoint. I don't foresee any reason that would be a negative, but please enlighten me if it is.
So Brandy, are you prepared to respond to that?
Yes. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Brittany. Go ahead.
I'm still a little bit confused about whether you want us to build that phase last or to open it last. That is, we'd like to construct that phase, that is our portion of our first phase. So we're okay with constructing it and barricading it and then opening it at a future time.
Manager, what I'm trying to achieve. What do you recommend?
Given the response from Brandy of building it as a first phase, but not opening it until the end, how would that work under our standards?
This may be a question we bounce off of Tracy. My understanding is that once a road was accepted and recorded and platted as a public road, that it needed to be open. So in that respect, that if that is in the first phase and once that road is recorded, then the barricades need to get taken out.
I believe Brad Whitehurst with the developer is also able to address that question, Mayor Pro Tem, as well. Mayor, if you'd like to offer him the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. This is
Brad Whitehurst.
Brad, please come on.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with respect to Blake's question, I understand what the intent is in trying to keep that road blockaded for as long as possible. We're not far enough along in the design process yet to commit to that, I don't think. If you look in kind of the eastern section, the southeastern section, you can see our pump station down there. So the entire site will flow, the sewer will flow to that pump station and then be pumped further upstream. So it's likely that area will be one of the first phases that we do put on the ground. Now, whether or not with your staff, during the preliminary site submittal and the construction drawings, we can kind of carve out the white rail stub there and leave a portion of that as just a future phase. That's kind of between our engineers and your staff, but I think we'd be willing to commit to that, knowing that connection doesn't really provide a lot for our community, that north-south connection. So I think we'd be willing to err on the side of working with you guys, and I think it makes sense to keep it barricaded for as long as possible. But if we do build it and plat it, I agree with Pam, and Tracy just came online too, that once we plat it, it becomes a public road and we cannot barricade it at that point due to emergency service access and all sorts of other things. So again, if there's a way we could carve it out during the site plan process and make that a minor phase of its own, and just say that we would build that towards the end of the entire development, I think we'd be willing to commit to something along those lines. But generally that southeastern portion of the site is where we're going to start our development again, due to the sewer and the low point and the pump station.
Okay, thank you so much, Brad. I'm going to ask our town manager to respond back to our Mayor Pro Tem.
So Pam and Tracy, based on what I just heard Brad say, where I've sort of drawn the arrow on the screen, is it not possible under our standards to carve out that area there, which I think is open space with the road going through it, and have it as its own final phase that can be constructed at a later time and then plat it, dedicate it to the town, et cetera?
I think a better solution versus having it be its own phase is it could be integrated with the last phase on the east side there. I would still like it tied in with some meaningful lots, but it definitely could be, unless Tracy has another opinion, I think it could be isolated and tied in with the last phase on the east side of the development.
Yeah, I think that would be workable, but I would look to the mayor and town board to agree. But what Pam is saying is some defined portion of this area where I've got the arrow would be a part of a final phase on the east side of James Slaughter Road, and so therefore would be built last as a part of the development on the east side of James Slaughter Road.
I'm fine with flexibility that the staff puts in place for that right there. I mean, they can build it and just simply leave it as a phase where everything else can be dedicated to town, take ownership of it, but does not take ownership of that until the end. So therefore it leaves your blockade up. I mean, we've had tons of roads before that were blockaded in town for various different reasons. And I understand why they need to start there in the low points. And I think that everyone also I understand the concerns of the public, at least trying to minimize construction traffic. So I believe the petitioner has the issue with that, but they need to be able to connect that. So if you want to tie it to a future phase, however you want, with lots of meaningful stuff. So I understand exactly what you mean there, Pam. I have no problem how you do that. And it doesn't have to mean that it's 100% of the entire place is built out, but a large substantial portion of it, as long as it can to minimize construction traffic through there. So what do you want them to say for that?
And so perhaps the condition that the developer may or may not be prepared to agree to tonight is that a portion of the stub street that connects to White Rail will be developed as a part of the last phase of development on the east side of James Slaughter Road. Brad, is that something that the developer would be willing to agree to as a condition this evening, Mayor?
Brad, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. And
okay.
Yes, I think we're generally okay with that statement. I guess it comes down to what the limits of the area that we're holding off are. But if we agree to kind of work that out during a site plan and construction drawing process, then I think we're okay with the general conditions saying that we'll make that area, quote unquote area, the last phase of the east side of the development. We'd be okay with that.
And Mr. Mayor, I would just add to that that staff could very well work with the developer to identify how that is defined. I think what the Mayor Pro Tem is getting here is enough of it so that there is not a flow of traffic between Whitehurst and this new development until the final phase of this development on the east side of James Slaughter Road is what I understand him to be seeking here. And it sounds like that if the petitioner is going on record saying that they are good with that as a condition, we can work out the exact language as a part of the master plan. But I think I don't want to assume, but does the entire town board understand what we're
That's
talking
the
about?
question. And I think they do. I think Mayor Pro Tem has done an excellent job kind of talking through this process. It started, several meetings ago, but helping bring it together. Now, I will ask, does any other town board member have any comments or want to add anything or not support something that our Mayor Pro Tem has talked about? Commissioner Gardner. Hit that little mic there that says. You see it, Marilyn?
Thank you. I just wanted to say this has been a long, protracted process, but it's been a very good process because I think it has brought together a lot of work by all of the different entities, including these residents from the area who have spoken to us at the different hearings when they could. And I just, for one, appreciate that process. I know everybody can't get exactly what they want tonight, but the project will be better for the help from staff, from the experts on staff, and with the builder and the developer and these individuals who love this community so much. So I thank you for that. And it worked out for me because I missed the February 18th meeting and I did listen to the audio from that meeting and get to hear what all of the residents were saying that night, the citizens were saying that night. But I really appreciate their being able to weigh in tonight too. And this board hears you and we want all the facts. And thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Massengill, these last couple of meetings, he's helped us get some of the things that you ask about addressed. And I just appreciate everybody participating and look forward to a project that we'll all be proud of someday.
Anybody else? Okay, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, before a motion is made, I think we got a comment from our town attorney. Brad, is the petitioner agreeable to the added condition? And or do you believe, I'm sorry, not petitioner, property owner, excuse me, and or do you believe that you will be able to get property owner consent to the added condition?
The barricading of the White Rail Road condition?
Correct.
Yeah, yes, we're okay with it, and I believe we'll be able to get the property owner's consent as well. Do we need to iron out the condition tonight in the wording of it, or are we just?
What I would recommend is that if this condition were sought by the board as a part of a motion, that the motion would be subject to the town staff and petitioner spelling out the exact language of an added condition in the master plan, whereby the stub street to White Rail would be built and dedicated to the town and therefore open and unbarricaded as a part of a final phase of the residential development on the east side of James Slaughter Road. I think that meets the intent of what the board is seeking. And then if we have to further define that, we can, but I think generally it meets the intent of what the board is seeking.
Okay.
You copy that, and are you in agreement to that?
Yes, I understand that, and we're in agreement with that.
Very good.
Okay, thank you very much, Brad.
Thank you.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve as recommended by staff with all conditions that were presented and recommended tonight and the additional construction barricading condition.
Second.
We got a motion and a second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We will move on to 7A. And there are no public hearings tonight. So we move on to 8A. What is the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Mayor, make a motion to approve all consent agenda items.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Aye. Okay. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, before being that this the public comment period was rather lengthy, as well as this last agenda item, is it the wishes of the board to keep moving forward, or does the board need a 5-minute recess?
Okay, well, let's take a 5-minute recess. I kind of need one too. All right.
This will work as the meeting will be, the way this will work, the meeting will be recessed for 5 minutes. The meeting will be paused. No one from the public needs to sign off. We're going to keep the meeting live. It'll just be paused for 5 minutes and muted.
Scott, can you hear me?
Okay, we're back in session. Administrative reports, 10A, project closeouts and project ordinance amendment, Northeast Judd Parkway Extension Project, and Southwest Judd Parkway close. Transfer funds to Northeast Judd and North Main intersection project. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider approval of a project closeout ordinances for the Northeast Judd Parkway Extension Project and the Southwest Judd Parkway Project, and to transfer their project remaining funds to the Northeast Judd Parkway and North Main Street intersection project. In order to keep the Northeast Judd Parkway intersection project on schedule, the town board acted in 2017 to condemn properties associated with right-of-way acquisitions and easement requirements. Currently, nearly all property acquisition settlements have been reached. Additional funds are required to settle the remaining property acquisitions. The budget, totaling $7,598,000, covered design, right-of-way acquisition, upgrading the railroad crossing, utility relocation, roadway construction, and construction management. Current funds remaining in the project budget are approximately $315,000. Of the remaining funds, $112,737.93 are town funds, with the balance being comprised of unspent locally administered projects program, or LAP federal funds. LAP funding for this project is applicable to construction activities only and cannot be used for property acquisition and soft costs. The unrealized unspent federal funds are the result of efficient project management, having worked diligently to keep the final cost of construction down from the original project budgeted amount since awarding the project. The remaining $202,262.07 of unspent federal funds came from a $1 million CAMPO funding award to cover higher than expected construction costs resulting from the high market construction demands at the time of the project bidding. These CAMPO funds were awarded based on a 50% town match. Town staff does not anticipate the need for additional reimbursable expenses, but intends to maintain these funds in the project budget until the final project closeout. Town staff did discuss with the NCDOT and CAMPO if the remaining $202,000 in federal funds could be applied towards right-of-way acquisition. Since the project competed on a construction-only basis, with the town committing to the design and right-of-way portions of the project prior to applying to CAMPO, NCDOT and CAMPO confirmed these federal funds could not be used for right-of-way acquisitions. Town staff is requesting that the project funds be reallocated from the Northeast Judd Extension Project and the Southwest Judd Parkway Project funds into the Northeast Judd and Broad Street intersection, and Main Street intersection project fund for the purpose of settling the remaining condemnation cases. Upon completion of these outstanding right-of-way acquisitions, both Northeast Judd Extension Project and the Southwest Judd Parkway Project will be closed out. These project accounts have remained open during the discussions with NCDOT to accept the roadways for maintenance. Hence, this process is now complete. The recommended motion to the board this evening is to approve the project closeout ordinances for the Northeast Judd Parkway Extension Project and the Southwest Judd Parkway Project and associated project ordinance amendment that transfers remaining funds to the Northeast Judd Parkway and North Main Street intersection project. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Is there any questions of Adam about this transfer or about this closeout? I think it's very appropriate to do.
Mr. Mayor, if there are no further questions, I'd like to move that we approve the project closeout.
You might unmic.
Yeah.
You got it. I don't have the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move, if there are no comments, I'd like to move that the project, the motion that I move, the project to close out and the project ordinance amendment for the Northeast Judd Parkway Extension Project and the Southwest Judd Parkway Project be approved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we move on to 10B. This is an interesting one. And my understanding from our town manager is we're having a little technical difficulty. Okay. My understanding from our town manager, this was actually brought to us by a citizen or several citizens. We're always seeking input from our community. Textile recycling service amendment. Simple recycling.
Mayor, we're going to take just a quick second. I think you're going to have to control everybody's. We did not hear the last part the mayor just said. Okay. I'm going to continue forward presenting this agenda item, Mayor, and we're going to work on it. Okay. Okay, Mayor and Board, the purpose of this agenda item is to consider an agreement with Simple Recycling for the provision of curbside textile recycling collection in the town. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town. And the mayor is correct. This matter was brought forward to us by a number of citizens here in the town. The town of Fuquay-Varina currently provides weekly curbside garbage collection to move more than 10,000 residential accounts, as well as biweekly curbside recycling collection. Due to North Carolina's ban on cardboard, aluminum cans, and numbered plastics in the landfill, citizens are required to recycle or demonstrate how they dispose of the banned materials. The town currently accepts recycled plastics, metals, glass, and paper, including cardboard, which are transported by town staff to a multi-material recycling facility for processing. In addition to curbside recycling, town residents may dispose of electronics at the Electronics Recycling Center free and curbside upon request for a $10 fee. Town management and staff have recently met with residents to discuss opportunities to enhance the town's ongoing sustainability efforts. Through these discussions with other public works directors in Wake County, town management and public works director Newberry became aware of a vendor willing to provide curbside textile recycling to the community at no cost to the town. The town of Morrisville has recently entered into a similar agreement for this service with the same vendor, and other municipalities in the area are also considering. Curbside textile recycling is intended to collect used soft recyclables. Residents are still encouraged to donate items with thrift shop value to local charities, but this service provides a convenient and sustainable option for disposal of textiles that are either not able to be resold in the United States or otherwise must be reprocessed into raw fibers to be reused. Soft recyclables are defined as primarily men's, women's, and children's clothing, as well as items such as jewelry, shoes, purses, hats, toys, pictures, mirrors, blankets, drapes, and curtains, pillows, rags, sewing scraps, sleeping bags, small furniture, small appliances, irons, radios, and audio equipment, TV and video equipment, cameras, lamps, hair dryers, tools, toasters, microwaves, coffee makers, and the list goes on. Any of the above items less than 50 pounds in weight that will fit into a bag that's provided by the vendor will be collected by the vendor on recycling day. Residents are encouraged to put in a work order with the vendor, who will follow the town's recycling route collection schedule and collect any curbside soft recycling from a Ford Transit van or similar vehicle. To provide this service, the town would need to enter into a 3-year agreement with the vendor with for-cause and not-for-cause termination provisions. Agree to publicize the program and provide information on the town's recycling service area on our website. In return, the vendor will provide this new service as a convenience to the town residents, pay the town $20 per ton collected, name the town as an additional insured, and divert this waste stream from the landfill. This agreement provides a convenience and environmental benefit to town residents and has been reviewed by the Public Works Director, town management, and the town attorney, and sufficiently protects the town. As such, approval of this service agreement is recommended. There's no direct cost to the town for providing this service. The town will support simple recycling by sharing information about the program and promoting this free service to town residents, and will direct resident calls for assistance to the vendor's call center. The motion recommended to you this evening is to authorize me as town manager to enter into a textile recycling agreement with Great Lakes Recycling Incorporated, doing business as Simple Recycling North Carolina, as presented and recommended, subject to the town attorney review as to form. I am submitting this agenda abstract and supporting documentation into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Adam, what do you anticipate the income will be from this stream?
That's hard to predict at this point, Mayor. I think that we're going to budget very conservatively for this until we get at least a good 6 months to a full year worth of data so that we can verify. I could probably follow up with you and get you a better number, but I don't have a number off the top of my head tonight.
Okay. And you've talked to other communities that use this service, and they're very satisfied with it.
Yes, sir. They are very satisfied with it. And because of the success that they've had, they've talked with friends and others that live in our community, and that's how it got percolated up to our attention.
And what we think is we'll have a training process to train our citizens on how to use this new service. Is that something you can do on the app that we have, or is it something that you'll do in another form?
Certainly, we'll do it as an educational process. We will likely use our broad base of followers on social media as well as our website, and we'll look to other partners to help us promote it to our citizens as well.
But we have an app for recycling. Possibly we could use it on that app.
That's right. Any of our tools that get to our customers,
Okay.
we will try to use and educate them about this new service.
Absolutely. I think it's great. Now, the only other question I have is we currently received a grant from the state, I believe it was, and we built a little recycle center for radios, TVs, VCR, things like that down at South Park. Will we eventually do away with that, or is that one not generating revenue for us too? Or how is that working?
No, that one will still remain there. It's a service for people who want to perhaps drop off larger electronics that would not qualify under this program. This is generally small items that can fit within a bag that is provided by the textile recycling provider, and some of the larger electronics like larger flat screen TVs or tube TVs that we see citizens bring to our electronic recycling center would not work under this program.
And this will work on the same day that our recycling does, which is on Wednesdays. Is that a correct statement?
It will follow the schedule. So we're split in our community, but it will follow the schedule of our service.
Recycling.
Correct.
But I think it's Wednesday each place, but it's different.
That's right. We have a green side and a blue side, and so it'll follow the schedule.
It's still Wednesdays on each side. Okay.
Correct.
I mean, it sounds good to me. I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts or ideas? I will entertain a motion then.
Mr.
Mayor,
Mayor,
make a motion to approve, recommended by staff.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we go to 10C, fee in lieu, Rutherford subdivision. More information about this agenda item be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Maybe I'll start over again. I'm not sure I was unmuted there. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider acceptance of a fee in lieu for median improvements in a portion of a creek crossing on Moosehead Way in the Rutherford subdivision in the amounts of $92,934.50 and $113,699 respectively. Town standards, allow for fee in lieu of improvements for instances where required construction improvements cannot be completed. In the case of Rutherford subdivision under development by Pulte Homes, two areas are eligible for fee in lieu consideration. Moosehead Way, located within the subdivision's stubs to an adjoining property for future connection, where the property line is the center line of the creek. And I believe we have a slide that demonstrates that. As such, it is not feasible to extend the stub to the property line. Town staff has worked with the developer's designer to maximize the amount of Moosehead Way roadway that is constructed. Pulte Homes is requesting a fee in lieu consideration for the segment that cannot be constructed. A cost estimate sealed by the developer's engineer and approved by the town's engineering director in the amount of $113,699 is included with the agenda information that was provided to you. Additionally, the Rutherford subdivision is responsible for widening their half portion of Lake Wheeler Road to its 4-lane divided cross section along the property's road frontage. Because they are responsible for only widening their side of the road, the developer is only responsible for half of the future median improvements. There is no feasible way to construct half of a median. As a result, the developer is requesting consideration of a fee in lieu in the amount of $92,934.50. This estimate was sealed by the developer's engineer and approved by the town's engineering director. And we have a slide that demonstrates that area as well. 1/2 of the median.
Mr. Manager, that is that 125%.
That includes the extra 25%. Yes, sir. Town staff and management's recommendation is to approve the fee in lieu request for Rutherford subdivision in the amount of $92,934.50 and $113,699 for a total of $206,633.50 of fee in lieu considerations. The preliminary plat supporting certified estimates and exhibits showing the work is included in the agenda for your reference. The motion is to approve, the recommended motion is to approve the fee in lieu request for the Rutherford subdivision in the amounts of $92,934.50 and $113,699 for improvements to Lake Wheeler Road and Moosehead Way, respectively, as presented and recommended. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion as requested.
Motion, we have a second. Got a second? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move to 10D, Administrative Reports, Personnel Policy, Telework. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Didn't mute here. Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a resolution adopting a telework policy as an addendum to the town's personnel policy. In recent weeks, town management and staff have developed the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic mitigation and recovery plan to guide town planning and response activities with respect to this infectious disease. This plan is intended to mitigate risks to the continued delivery of town government services while assisting Wake County in protecting the economic and physical health of the town and its residents and visitors. One scenario that town management and staff prepared for was the potential need to close town facilities to the public and/or town staff to mitigate widespread transmission of the disease in the community and/or our workforce. As the coronavirus situation quickly escalated, the community center and arts center were closed to the public first, followed by all other town facilities to the public on March 16th to slow the spread of the virus in the community and workforce, and for the continued delivery of town governmental services by protecting the staff that deliver those services. In the early phases of COVID-19 planning, town management worked closely with the IT director, Scott Clark, and the human resources director, Wendy Moody, to implement social distancing in the workplace and develop a telework policy as an addition to the town's personnel policy. The proposed policy empowers the town manager to permit eligible employees to work from alternate locations when the town manager determines the use of alternate work locations is beneficial or necessary to mitigate risk to the continued delivery of town government services on a short-term or ongoing basis. As it relates specifically to COVID-19 or any other infectious disease, the policy allows the employee telework with the approval of the department head, the town manager, and the IT director on either an individual basis as may be necessary for an employee being monitored or self-quarantined that may be contagious but otherwise capable of performing job duties, or on an organization-wide basis as may be necessary to mitigate an outbreak of the disease. Town manager implemented teleworking for many employees who were good candidates based on job functions in late March, and it became clear that further social distancing was needed following the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the Wake County Public Health Department guidance. The use of teleworking with the draft policy and employee telework agreements in place has been a success story as the town staff have successfully performed their jobs while not spreading the virus in the workplace. The proposed telework policy appropriately allows for telework on a limited scale tied specifically to the need to continue town government operations under varying community and workforce conditions. Many public and private employers, have already adopted and implemented similar policies with success, and this policy and practice aligns with both the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and CDC recommendations. The telework policy, when paired with appropriate IT infrastructure and management practices, is an important tool in the toolkit for the towns to successfully carry out the novel coronavirus pandemic mitigation and recovery plan. And as such, I'm recommending its approval. There's no direct fiscal impact of this policy change, as any employee working from home would do so with a town-provided device. The recommended motion to you this evening is to approve the telework policy as an addendum to the town's personnel policy as presented and recommended. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
This is pretty much consistent with what many other towns have done here in North Carolina. And I certainly recommend it. I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, make a motion to approve as recommended by staff.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We move to item 10E, contract award project ordinance amendment, Holly Ridge Pump Station upgrade. More information will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a contract award of the Holly Ridge Pump Station upgrade to White Oak Contractors LLC in the amount of $498,248 and approval of the associated project ordinance amendment. On March 19th of this year, the town opened bids for the Holly Ridge Pump Station upgrade project. The project will replace the existing pump station located at Old Honeycutt Road, increase its pumping capacity, and pump directly into the Terrible Creek wastewater treatment plant, as opposed to the current configuration of pumping to the Eastern Regional Pump Station. The town received 6 bids, with bids ranging from $498,248 to $810,000. The low bidder was White Oak Contractors LLC of Garner. The town's Holly Ridge Pump Station was originally constructed in 1983 as a 180 gallon per minute can wet well, dry well style pump station to serve the area along Main Street to the Willow Spring Elementary School. In 2012, the town diverted the Eastern Regional Pump Station from Terrible Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant to the North Harnett Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant to reduce flow to the Terrible Creek Wastewater Plant while the process to expand its treatment capacity began. In 2015, at a cost of $105,000 and using existing infrastructure, the Holly Ridge Pump Station was converted from a can-style dry well to a suction lift pump station to replace the aging pump station and to provide safer working conditions for town staff. In 2018, the Eastern Regional Pump Station, and by association, the Holly Ridge Pump Station, flow was rediverted back to the Terrible Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant when the plant started operation. An increase in townwide residential development, including Parton Place subdivision, Lakeview subdivision, and South Lakes Elementary School, exceeded the town's pump station pumping capacity. A basin study of developable land within the Holly Ridge Pump Station sewer basin projected a need for the capacity of 700 gallons per minute. The Holly Ridge Pump Station upgrade requires a new wet well, larger pumps, and new electrical equipment. The larger pump station upgrade will allow a direct connection into a 16-inch diameter force main on NC 55, which reduces flow to the Eastern Regional Pump Station and minimizes the need to expand that pump station in the future. The low bidder, White Oak Contractors, has worked on numerous projects for the town, and staff believes that the contractors will be able to complete this project successfully. Therefore, I, along with the Public Utilities Director, are recommending award of the contract for the Holly Ridge Pump Station upgrade improvements to the White Oak Contractors LLC in the amount of $498,248, as well as approval of the associated project ordinance budget amendment. A project ordinance amendment in the amount of $350,000 is proposed to transfer accumulated interest income currently in the town's water and sewer capital project funds into the Holly Ridge Pump Station upgrade project to provide additional funds to cover the cost of the $498,000 construction contract. This fund transfer will account for construction-related engineering and unforeseen contingencies. The recommended motion to you this evening is to award a contract of $498,248 to White Oak Contractors, contingent upon the town attorney review is to form, for the Holly Ridge Pump Station upgrade, and approve a project ordinance amendment in the amount of $350,000 as presented and recommended. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have at this time.
Have you used White Oaks before, Adam?
The town has, and they've been successful in numerous projects before.
I would certainly entertain a motion.
Mayor, make a motion to approve as recommended by staff.
Got a motion and a second? Who seconded?
I second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we move to 10F, contract award and budget amendment. Annual resurfacing 2020 Town of Fuquay street improvements.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Turn it back.
Thank you. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider award of the 2020 Town of Fuquay-Varina Street Improvements Project base bid plus alternates, 1 and 2 to Turner Asphalt in the amount of $668,467.30. The engineering department prepared bid packages based in consultation with the town's Public Works Department on the town's resurfacing needs. On April 8th at 3 p.m., the town held a bid opening for the 2020 Town of Fuquay-Varina Street Improvements Project. The bid package included a base bid and 2 alternative bids. And we've got a map on your screens in front of you and on the screen on the wall. 6 bids were submitted. Turner Asphalt Company was the low bidder, submitting bids for the following amounts. The base bid of $374,726.90. Alternate bid number 1 of $125,095.11. Alternate bid number 2 of $168,645.29. And the total bid amount, base, alternate 1, and alternate 2, comprising of $668,467.30. As a reminder, the town generally budgets $400,000 from its annual PAL bill program disbursement for the town's annual resurfacing contract. In this year's street improvements project, town staff solicited 2 bid alternatives for additional paving options in anticipation that the current bid environment could yield favorable contractor pricing reflective of decreased NCDOT project investment. These solicitation paving options were designed to give the town board the flexibility to use PAL bill program funds to complete additional paving if contractor pricing were favorable. Prices received via the bid process for this contract were in line with the town's 2019 paving contract. The bid prices received will keep the town paving prices flat over the previous 3 annual contract awards. The current contractor's competitive environment presents an excellent opportunity to leverage PAL bill fund balance, thereby increasing the buying power of the town's PAL bill program funding. Turner Asphalt completed 2 of the last 3 resurfacing projects for the town. The town staff has been satisfied with the company's quality of work on previous resurfacing projects. Resurfacing contractor costs have been extremely competitive in recent years past. Bid prices received for this project are at or below current market price values. Given the need to improve town streets and current market rate contractor competitive resurfacing pricing, management and staff are recommending the award of the 2020 Town of Fuquay-Varina Street Improvements Project base bid plus alternatives 1 and alternative 2 to Turner Asphalt. This staff recommendation totaling $668,467.30 will require a budget amendment of $300,000 from the PAL bill reserve fund as presented and recommended. Additional funding from PAL bill reserves is available to provide an additional $300,000, which would bring the total FY21 PAL bill resurfacing budget amount to $700,000 versus the $400,000 that was originally budgeted. The $700,000 amount will cover the recommended contract award of $668,000, comprised of the base bid plus the 2 alternatives and any project contingencies. The recommended motion to you this evening is approve a contract award of $668,467.30 to Turner Asphalt for the base bid plus alternatives 1 and alternative 2, contingent upon town attorney review as to form, and approve a budget amendment BA 20-23 in the amount of $300,000 as presented and recommended. I'm submitting the agenda materials and abstract into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have. Let me just make one point, a quick note. The map on your iPads and on the screen above have green, orange, and blue. Green, anywhere you see a green line is where the proposal to resurface is in the base bid. Anywhere you see an orange line is where we're proposing to resurface an alternative 1 to add to the base bid. And where you see blue is alternative 2 added to the base bid.
Okay, thank you, Adam. I think this is typical of what we do. Any further discussion by the board? If not, this is what I'd recommend.
Mayor, making sure I would motion that we approve, recommend by staff.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. We move to 10G,
Mr. Mayor, before we move on to 10G, I do want to just draw attention to the town board and the public's view of the map on the screen. This can also be found on the town's GIS site, but this is reflective of the roads that have been resurfaced in the town street network from 2007 all the way to the proposed recommendations for 2020. So as you can see, in the last 10 to 12 years, we have resurfaced a significant amount of roadways here in the town of Fuquay-Varina.
And some of these roads are associated with sewer pipes and water pipes that have been put in, I know, which will be a good thing. I know be appreciated. There are particular deep cuts in the roads.
Actually, these that you see on the maps here, you're correct. We do resurface roads when we have utility fixes and deep cuts, but the ones that are reflected on this map are the ones that we've actually done with our POW bill annual street resurfacing funds, not necessarily related to utility projects.
Well, I didn't mean from that standpoint, but it's in the historic, a lot of this is in the historic district in that area. And we have had a lot of sewer and water projects going on down there, and hopefully this will help it.
You are correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. We go to 10G, FE, FEMA, request for public assistance designation of applicant's agent and state applicant disaster assistance agreement, novel coronavirus. Town Manager Mitchell is going to give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. The purpose of this agenda item is to designate agents of the town in order to make a request for public assistance with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, for town costs incurred as the result of the nationwide novel coronavirus disaster. On March 25th of this year, the novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, became a federally declared nationwide disaster for the ongoing pandemic disease incident period, which began on January 20th of this year. The town has begun the process of documenting expenses for the purposes of federal assistance, which is the subject of this request for public assistance. While the incident is ongoing and additional costs are likely, the town has already incurred expenses associated with executing the town's novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic mitigation and recovery plan. Under the current state of emergency declaration, FEMA 4487NC, expenses within the categories of emergency protective measures and management costs are 75% reimbursable when following all federal guidelines for documentation and procurement. Since it is possible that these categories may be expanded on in the future, town management and staff have begun the process of following federal guidelines and documenting all expenses directly related to the town's response to COVID-19. Novel coronavirus related expenses to date primarily include hardware devices and software to implement telework, which allows town staff to continue delivering town services while social distancing, cleaning and sanitary supplies such as gloves, disinfectants, and hand sanitizer in town facilities and vehicles to reduce the spread of infection, and employee protective equipment such as gloves and masks. In addition to expenditures associated with COVID-19, the town's revenues are already being directly impacted by the novel coronavirus emergency. The most impacted revenue streams are expected to be sales tax, program fees for youth sports and the Arts Center ticket sales, and utility revenues. Other revenue streams, including vehicle taxes and building and development fees, could be impacted should the economic consequences of the pandemic prove longer lasting. These revenue trends are being closely monitored by town management and finance department and are being taken into consideration in developing the fiscal year 21 budget. Revenue impacts are not eligible for FEMA reimbursement, but may be offset by other federal and or state direct assistance. In order to process the town's request for public assistance, North Carolina Emergency Management and FEMA require the submittal of a state applicant disaster assistance agreement and the designation of the applicant's agent. Assistant Town Manager Mark Matthews has been designated by me as the point person for developing and managing the town's COVID-19 mitigation and response plan, while I have continued to serve as the lead incident commander and chief administrative officer for the town. For this reason, I'm recommending that Assistant Town Manager Mark Matthews be designated as the primary agent and that I be designated as the secondary agent of the town for the purpose of pursuing state and federal financial assistance under the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act and representing and acting on behalf of the town when dealing with FEMA and the state on the COVID-19 disaster. I'm recommending that the town board authorize me or my designee to file the town's application for public assistance, state applicant disaster assistance agreement, and designation of applicant's agent as described in the previous statements. The current major disaster declaration positions the town to receive reimbursement of 75% of eligible expenses for Category B emergency protective measures and Category Z management costs. A full financial update will be provided at a future meeting. The recommended motion to you this evening is to authorize me or my designee to execute and file an application for public assistance on behalf of the town of Fuquay-Varina for the purpose of obtaining certain state and federal financial assistance under the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act. Assistant Town Manager Matthews and I are hereby designated under this recommended motion as the primary and secondary agent to the town and are authorized to represent and act for the town in all dealings with the state of North Carolina and FEMA pertaining to FEMA 4487 DRNC, including the request for public assistance, designation of applicant's agent, and state applicant disaster assistance agreement. That's a long motion. So if the board concurs, my recommendation would be to approve as recommended by the manager. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have. This process is not unsimilar to what we would do in other natural disasters like hurricanes or, God forbid, tornadoes.
This is kind of a typical process. It's one I'd certainly highly recommend. And I'd entertain a motion for it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote. Motion carries. Somebody oppose? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. We move to 10H, Gatewood Memorial Design Project. This is on 218 West Vance Street and South Main Street. More information about this agenda item be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two items for the public record. One, I'm not sure if Commissioner Wunsch's mic was on, but he seconded the motion to the previous agenda item, I believe, just for the record. I want to make sure that's documented and in the recording. And just for a point of clarification, the property that we're getting ready to speak of is a physical address of 218 South Main Street. It's at the corner of West Vance Street, but the actual address is 218 South Main Street. The purpose of this agenda item is to review and approve the proposed gateway mural design project to be installed on the southern facade of the 218 South Main Street property located at the intersection of the southwest corner of West Vance Street and South Main Street. In October of last year, the town board approved a facade grant agreement funding request in the amount of $2,500 for 218 South Main Street located on the southwest corner of South Main and West Vance Street. The facade improvements approved included the removal of a large metal awning facing South Main Street and West Vance Street, and the replacement of this awning with individual awnings over individual doorways located along the building storefronts, painting the exterior facade and new signage. And so I'm going to kind of skip to this image. That's the current image of the property. With the agreement of the building owner to undertake these facade grant improvements, town staff believe these improvements presented a good opportunity to further partner with the property owner to improve the building's large-scale facade by designing a mural design to be installed. The proposed mural location is an excellent location for mural artwork to serve as a gateway into the Fuquay-Varina downtown community from the south, driving north. In December of last year, town staff issued a request for proposals soliciting a large number of artists, including local artists, the Fuquay-Varina Arts Council and the North Carolina Arts Council. We received a proposal from a local artist, Vicki Wilson of Vicki Wilson Art. The concept of the Gateway Mural Project, which is here reflected on your screens, reflects events hosted in Fuquay-Varina that enrich our public values as we place on nurturing our community. Artwork includes the Fuquay Mineral Spring Park to represent the town's historic origin, displayed with a snow-covered background, which every so often occurs during the winter months around the new year. Other designs of the panel include the town's restored caboose and 2 cabins acknowledging the museum's Heritage Day and our railroad routes. The town's Easter egg hunt lies below the colors and the colors orange, red, blue, green, and yellow begin to form as a pattern of flowing swirls that carry the viewer through the town's annual pageant of events. A performing band depicts the Follow Me to Fuquay-Varina concert series and various other concerts, both outdoors and in our new art center. A family of runners participate in Run the Quay, and actors take a bow following a performance at the Art Center Theater. Chili samples and a glass of beer salute the various food events we enjoy throughout our downtown, and a painter's hand celebrates the en plein air paint-off event, coupled with the sky deepening into the night to represent Dinner on Depot springtime event. The far right panel celebrates the town's popular Christmas tree lighting event and portrays our talented community choral performances. The mural illustration will be completed in acrylic on stretched canvas. The paintings will be photographed and digitally printed with pigments used in outdoor signs. The panels will come with a 5-year warranty and are designed for printed outdoor use and provide a variety of advantages. Given the size of the mural, the height of the building, and the setback from the street, the installation of multiple panels will be substantially easier and quicker to install on the facade rather than having the artist paint directly on the building's facade. Additionally, using the panels provides an opportunity to remove and replace individual panels should any of them become damaged or worn. The total proposed cost of the mural design project is $12,214. This cost includes the labor, materials, and landscaping. The project will be funded through the town's Economic Development Department and Downtown Development Department, which funds presently exist in the FY20 budget. The recommendation to you this evening is to, by motion, approve the selection of the Gateway Mural Design Project to be installed on the southern facade of 218 South Main Street, located at the intersection of southwest corner of West Vance Street and South Main Street, as presented and recommended. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting materials into the official record of the town. I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have. On your screens in front of you and the screens for public view is a rendering of the building with the proposed mural design.
Adam, what I particularly like about it is you're doing away with those awnings there on the building, which has always been kind of an eyesore. And also the landscaping will change there. The trees will come down. I think it really cleans up and makes it very attractive on that side of the building. And I would certainly recommend this. Any other discussion? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor Byrne, I move that we approve the selection of the Gateway Mural Project as presented.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We move to 10I, resolution authorizing upset bid process, 111 North Woodrow Street. More information about this agenda item be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a resolution authorizing an upset bid process for sale of property owned by the town of Fuquay-Varina to Bobby Flores Eastern Properties, Easton Properties, LLC. Bobby Flores, Easton Properties LLC has made an offer to purchase the property located at 111 North Woodrow Street and made a bid deposit as required, or let me clarify that. Plans to make a bid deposit as required by state statute. With the current state of affairs, the deposit has not yet been made, and so we're going to talk about that when we get to the motion. The buyer intends to use the subject property for single-family residential, a one-family dwelling that excludes townhomes and duplexes. The town's planning director has reviewed the buyer's intended use of the property and has determined that the proposed use would not require a zoning map amendment of the property. The property is currently zoned residential medium density, RMD, which permits single-family dwellings as a permitted use. The attached proposed resolution that was provided in your agenda materials is pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160A-269, where a city may receive, solicit, or negotiate an offer to purchase property and advertise it for upset bids. When an offer is made and the council proposes to accept it, the council shall require the offerer to deposit 5% of his bid with the city clerk and shall publish a notice of the offer. The notices shall contain a general description of the property, the amount and terms of the property, and a notice that within 10 days, any person may raise the bid by not less than 10% of the first $1,000 and 5% of the remainder. When a bid is raised, the bidder shall deposit with the city clerk 5% of the increased bid, and the clerk shall re-advertise the offer at the increased bid. This procedure shall be repeated until no further qualifying upset bids are received, at which time the council may accept the offer and sell the property to the highest bidder. The town shall have the right to reject the offer by Bobby Flores Easton Properties LLC or any upset bidder to purchase the town property at any time prior to final acceptance of the offer pursuant to state statute, and this agreement shall be null and void upon such rejection. All deposits shall be returned and the party shall have no further obligations. Bobby Flores Easton Properties LLC is making an offer to purchase the town-owned property located at 111 North Woodrow Street for $85,000. The buyer's agent is seeking a 5% fee as a condition of the purchase. The recommended motion to you this evening is by motion to adopt the proposed resolution as presented and authorize the town manager to execute the sale of the town-owned property upon the completion of the upset bid period pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160A-269. The resolution has been reviewed by the town attorney as to form and content and is in the interest of the public. And I would add as a recommendation to the motion that it be subject to first receiving the bid deposit by the proposed buyer. I've been in contact with the buyer's agent and we're trying to coordinate how we can best accept that money and arrange that. I imagine that will be done within the next couple of days.
Adam, I think this is a good thing, and it kind of falls in place with the properties that we've been selling over the last couple years or so. We probably will have that close to $1 million worth of property that we've sold. I would certainly entertain a motion on this. Somebody wants to make a motion, we'll try to sell this piece of property. We got a second? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We move to 11A, the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's get the thing caught up here. So a couple of items that I just want to make the board aware of. Our inspections department, in the face of COVID-19, hit an all-time high in single-family residential home permits issued in the month of March for the town period. We did 83 single-family home permits in the month of March, which was a town record. The Triangle Business Journal over the last couple of weeks have had two articles that are worth noting. A Raleigh developer plots 175 apartments outside of Fuquay-Varina. This project is situated on two parcels totaling 11.8 acres, at 9408 Fayetteville Road, which is just south of Wake Tech's southern campus. And then a second article that developer maps 300 high-end apartments in Fuquay-Varina. This project is situated on 9.5 acres at 775 Northeast Judd Parkway amid a collection of retail plazas and the intersection of the Judd Parkway Highway 401 intersection. This is just right behind Walmart. And so these two projects have been in the works, going through the town's process for many months now, but the Triangle Business Journal just recently picked up on those and reported on those. Work is underway on a new restaurant in Fuquay-Varina, Culver's. This new restaurant is situated on 1.3 acres at 1860 Cinema Drive off North Main Street near the Fuquay-Varina Elementary School. The location is also adjacent to the Village at Marquis Station Apartments. I think it's hamburgers and custard and all the good things that add weight around the waist, probably. Teleworking has been a success, and staff continues to conduct meetings with members of the public and development community. Our police department project is still under construction. It's wrapping up construction, and we have an update. We will have an update at our next town board meeting. We anticipate substantial completion by mid-May of our police station, and we're beginning to have conversations right now about how to open that facility while all of this is happening in our world today. So we'll be in contact with the town board on that in the coming weeks and months. Our finance department and our finance director in particular has been working very hard to help management develop a balanced budget and a 5-year plan for presentation to the town board. And we will have that presentation on Thursday night. Our Parks and Recreation Cultural Resources Department has worked to prepare for the closing out of Fleming Loop Park, making contingency plans, and ultimately, unfortunately, having to cancel the spring youth sports and Follow Me to Fuquay-Varina concert series. But we're working with our planning department and preparing for a virtual neighborhood meeting as well for the zoning of our Hilltop Needmore Town Park and Preserve. And so we've got some activity going on with our two new parks. Speaking of the Hilltop Needmore Town Park and Preserve, I'm sure many of you are aware, but that park is getting a significant amount of utilization during this COVID-19 period of time. The Arts Center has worked to continue to highlight the Arts Center activities and curate virtual content for our community while the center physically can't be open. Hopefully you've seen some of that virtual content on their Facebook page. Public Works continues to work hard to provide core services during this pandemic. Our IT department has worked hard to provide virtual solutions like the one we're in the midst of right now with our town board meeting for every organization that will need during this event, and supporting departments to support the technology aspects of their budget requests. Additionally, I just want to make a few comments, if I can get to the screen here. About our COVID-19 response, because I'm very proud of some of the items I'm getting ready to report to the board right now, and as I'm sure you are as well. We have spent greater focus on cleanliness and reducing the risk of spread through social distancing, sanitizer, hand washing, etc. I especially appreciate the steps that employees have taken to look out for other coworkers and their loved ones. The IT department has worked long hours over a weekend and evenings to rapidly prepare our organization for telework, and they were able to purchase, set up, and distribute devices to allow dozens of employees to telework that never have before. Employees have embraced change and developed many new skills and become more adept at using technology. Our staff has demonstrated flexibility, adaptability, creativity, and dedication while finding ways to continue providing a high level of customer service, particularly in critical and essential functions. Steps that the town took early, particularly closing facilities to the public, limiting public contact in certain operational functions, implementation of telework, and use of social distancing practices made a difference in protecting the health of our employees. This has allowed us to avoid loss of significant proportion of our workforce, which would have reduced the town's ability to provide core services. While we have had a limited number of employees that have unfortunately been exposed or potentially exposed, it has not impacted our work or our service to the community. Meetings have been conducted almost entirely via telephone and video conference, and we quickly became more adept at doing business in this manner. Budget meetings entirely were conducted on Microsoft Teams using our software to its full potential. Data has been used in many ways to inform decision-making, whether it is to inform emergency protective measures necessary to mitigate the impact of contagious disease on the organization or community, forecasting revenue impacts, or comparing peer operational approaches and their relative effectiveness. Management and IT staff have developed a process for conducting public meetings in a remote manner during the crisis to allow social distancing. Hopefully you have found tonight's meeting to have gone primarily without any issue. We had a few technology issues, but for the most part, it's operated pretty well. We have worked closely with our partners at Wake County, Triangle J, FEMA, and the state and other municipalities to understand how others are navigating this crisis and to tap into resources that will assist us in protecting our workforce and community during this disaster. And in summary, while you only plan for this level of change in a crisis event, and it is stressful, we are going to emerge more nimble, adaptable, and confident in the new operational skills we have developed during this time. I, along with our management team, Mark, Jim, and our directors, are truly humbled that we are surrounded by such a great team and that we've been able to adapt as well as we have. It's also been pretty impressive seeing the many independent efforts being undertaken around the community during this event, whether it was churches finding ways to minister to their congregations electronically, the school lunch distribution at Pine Acres Community Center, a grassroots drive to help our small businesses, and many other ways that residents and organizations have stepped up to help their neighbors in big and small ways. Even the simple step of wearing a mask or isolating at home is an act of love and selflessness which protects the vulnerable, healthcare workers, and first responders. The areas we continue to be sensitive to and pay close attention to are the economic and fiscal impacts of the pandemic on our community and the town's revenues. The physical and mental health impact of this extended elevated posture on our employees. In many cases, essential workers are coping with a unique set of stresses that include physical health risks, new strategies for performing work, additional parenting and spousal responsibilities at home, childcare stresses, which sometimes also mean financial stresses, and disruption of normal outlets for stress relief and stress care. And it was framed in a recent School of Government webinar: we have been sprinting in this race, but need to stay healthy for the marathon. Our employees have answered the call. They've stepped up to the response to the pandemic of this scale, which is a scale that we have not seen in most of our lifetimes. And we'll be doing our best to look after them as they look after our community. And I just wanted to share with the board what we have been able to accomplish and the success stories since this pandemic started. I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have this evening as it relates to my manager's report or any other items on the agenda.
I think that we're good. Some of my earplugs have kind of give out, but if you still got me on the mic, good. Thank you, Adam. And you know, I've been kind of a part of it, and it's something that I've never seen in my lifetime, and I reckon one of the oldest, you know, here. And I think that our staff and our team have performed beyond my expectations. And I've been able to do things remotely. You know, every week I'm, whether it's the Wake County mayors, the county commissioners, the metro mayors, the governor's office, I mean, we're communicating back into the system, the way the system is supposed to work. And I'm a little bit like Marilyn. Marilyn talks about, what do we call it? Zoom. It's my new media. And it's been amazing to me to be a part of this experience. And, you know, ultimately all of it's about safety. And it's just a really, really tough time right now for businesses. My heart goes out to many of the restaurants, and I hope they survive. You know, we have some very good restaurants here, and you know, there's certainly, I'm aware of talks, you know, between lease owners, restaurant folks, and trying to figure out a way to keep them open. And I hope maybe this, maybe by the end of this month, that there will be some loosening of that. The coronavirus has certainly changed America, and has changed Fuquay-Varina, you know, as well. We're going to have to think about it differently. I mean, it's not going to come back all at one time. I think many of the restaurants are going to have to do probably, I don't know, 50% inside seating and 50% outside takeaway. They're going to have to change the way they do business to survive. It's going to be a completely different world as we come back online out there. And let's do this. Let's kind of move around our room. If you have anything else, I notice you've got our budget workshop Thursday night, the 23rd. Okay. We okay?
That's correct, Mayor. Our budget workshop is this Thursday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
And it will be a virtual meeting, and we will have instructions online how the public can view that meeting. There won't be a public participation because that'll come later with a public hearing, but the public will be able to view the meeting online. Yes, sir. Yeah. So yes, the town board will attend it. It will be a public meeting. It'll be a board meeting. So the town board will attend it. The public will be able to view it, and it'll be virtual.
Okay. Board member comments. Mayor Pro Tem Massengill.
Unmute now. Mayor, you made a comment earlier that about the local businesses, and that's been dear to my heart and dear to everybody's too. At the same time, what's going on with them, I just encourage everybody as much as you can order online from somebody local, or get carry out food from them, or get them to do a call them and pay for something, and they're not allowed to have people inside the store. You're gonna put it on the front porch and pick it up that way. You know, do what you can that you don't go to jail, but try to support them and do that type of stuff as much as you can, because I think we're going to see our Main Street is going to be quite different after all this. It doesn't matter how many people forgive rent payments. They got to make a payment to the bank, or the federal government's got to forgive it, and it trickles down. So do try to support them all the best that you can. And the second comment that I wanted to make here today is that the best dressed man in the room is Larry Smith. You're looking good, man. I wish the poet was here tonight to see you, because you look good, man. You give me I gotta get some tips from you, but you look good, buddy. That's it.
And I'm not gonna stand up, but I do appreciate those comments.
No, I won't try to embarrass them. I just want to tell me look good.
Well, you know, I wasn't able to go to church and dress up, so I thought I'd wear my Easter outfit, and I think Commissioner Gardner joined me with that tonight with her Easter outfit. No, two quick comments. I do want to clarify one thing with the manager. Our meeting Thursday night, we will do from home online, or we come here. Which will it be?
could do either one. Most people are planning on doing it from their home.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yes.
So if I could just add to that, there is, because you will not be taking any action, there is not a requirement for there to be a physical quorum of the board. We will
Okay.
be set up in this room to accommodate the entire town board if you wish to be here, just like we are tonight. The only thing I would caution you on is if you are doing your meeting from your home, you are not going to have the IT staff and town staff here to help you with your devices. And so we also cannot control reliability from your home. And so
Okay.
if you want potentially assistance and you want reliability, because we know we can control the internet reliability here in this building, then you may want to be here, but it's not a requirement to be here. If you prefer to
Okay.
do it from the comfort of your home, you can do it from the comfort of your home. We are going to be using Zoom just like tonight, and we will be sharing screens. And so just like tonight, and so where we gave the town board for the use of the meeting tonight, multiple screens, you would have to limit it to all one iPad or one computer, whichever you did your Zoom meeting from, because that's how it would function from your house.
Okay.
You would have pictures of who's speaking and all that. Yes, sir.
You would mute. You should mute your microphone and then unmute it when you speak.
Always the standing rule for virtual meetings is if you're speaking, remember to unmute, which is tough to do sometimes. And if you are not speaking, mute, which is equally tough to do sometimes. If everybody is unmuted, even if you're not talking, it picks up background noise, and all of a sudden it gets very confusing and convoluted. So the mute and unmute are very critically important components to using Zoom or any other application for virtual meetings.
Another mayor, last night we had another meeting of the Wake County Mayors Association. We're meeting twice a week now, as they're about to work me to death, but Dr. Rawls was on from Wake Tech, and we were talking a little bit. He was doing some talking, and it's hard to get every mayor in Wake County to mute, but we work hard at it. Commissioner Harris.
I had one other comment I wanted to make is just to let you know, I'll be representing the town on the Board of Delegates with Triangle J tomorrow. We got a delegates meeting to approve our budget, so that'll be a virtual meeting as well. So just to let you know, we are still engaged with them. That's all I got. Thank you. No, they're using something else. I'm hoping I'll be able to figure it out. They're going to send us instructions tomorrow how to log in, but it's going to be something very similar to Zoom. All right, that's all for me, y'all.
Can you hear me now? Okay, good. I had to get used to this technology. But first, I just want to thank Adam and the staff, and I'm grateful for the flexibility that you've shown over the last several weeks. Nobody could have envisioned a couple of months ago that we would be required to make such vast adjustments in our lives. One of the things that has come to light for me is that we're sort of been ushered into a new era of social expression, and that the need and the desire to stay connected has risen to be so important. And no matter what, it's our connection, our ability to stay connected that makes us invincible. And I think that that's what we have worked through over the last few weeks, not only just from the standpoint of what the town has done as far as town government services, but I think the community in general has made a grand effort to stay connected and to help support various aspects of the community from the standpoint of even families and businesses, which are so crucial. So I'm so grateful for all the activities and the things that have occurred that have helped to keep the community stable and not in a panic mode. I think that what has occurred has been so important to maintain some semblance of stability for the community that it has benefited all of us as elected officials here. So I commend you and the staff and everybody who has had to readjust their lives to continue servicing the community. Mhm.
Hold on. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. I would join in what has already been said about the tremendous efforts of the town in being able to adjust and adapt to this difficult time. And I've just been very impressed also with the communication that the town has had with the public. I know the mayor addressed the town several times, and I tried to share that as well to update people on what was going on. I thought that was very helpful to the community. And so I just appreciate that. One thing I followed very closely that I was very impressed with, I know there have been a number of efforts to help people in our community. One effort that I followed very closely was the Angel Fund. And I was blown away by the generosity of our town with the Angel Fund, how in 14 days, the community came together along with the Chamber of Commerce and the Fuquay-Varina Economic Development to raise $121,000 for the small businesses of Fuquay-Varina. That was amazing. And it exceeded the goal of $100,000 and was able to get help to the small businesses that were in desperate need of this help. So that was just, in my opinion, just a wonderful example of how our town comes together to help those who are in need in a difficult time such as this. And to see just the small contribution, large contributions, people gave what they could, and that was awesome. And so another thing I think that shows what a special place the town of Fuquay-Varina is. And so I was just very, very encouraged and excited about that was able to happen. And I know that people of Fuquay-Varina will continue to come together to help get through this time. And thank you to all of you for what you do every day.
I'm really grateful for all that Adam and our staff have been doing to just keep everything going for everybody during this time, and just at a level of service and a level of professionalism that I didn't feel from some of the other organizations we were having to deal with. But there is such a great level of professionalism from our staff, and I really appreciate that. I think life as we knew it has changed, and there's some of these ways we won't be going back to, certainly with technology and meetings. My real estate office is having a happy hour every Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock. And this last week, the international CEO of Century 21 joined us along with two other really high-level people from corporate, and it was just a meeting of our office. So that was really amazing to be able to have that kind of access to people. And I think that's what all of these virtual meetings are teaching us we can have. And I really like that. And I'm also grateful for all of the wonderful humanitarian efforts we are seeing at every level in this time. And just I'm with Jason, the Angel Fund. That is just one example, and it was just amazing. But I hope we can come out of this with the kinder, gentler side of ourselves that we're learning more about every day and seeing in everybody. So I certainly hope we'll be taking that with us. And I talked to Maureen Daly today and just told her how much I miss the Arts Center and everything they brought to life in Fuquay-Varina. And I can't wait till we're back with that. They're doing a lot of wonderful things anyway, but back where we can really gather there and gather in other places in this community to celebrate our community, because that's what we do the best.
Thank you, Commissioner Gardner. You know, a couple of comments that I will make. One is the Angel Fund, and I was very excited about that. Now, all that together, Scott Wilkie, make sure I pronounced it correctly, did an outstanding job, you know, in a short period of time, and I think that there were many people that received grants, but there were many others that did not. And it's really an interesting time in our community for hairdressers, massage therapists, restaurant people. It's a different world, and it will come out a different world when we come out of the end of it. It's going to not come out all of a sudden. The sun's going to come up. Everything's going to be great. There we go. I think I got it. But I think it's important for all of us to know that we're not out of this yet. We're still working our way through it. And there'll be many, many more meetings and much more effort will be made. And I'm confident that our town staff has done more than their part. They've done a fabulous, fabulous job. And it's not just the police, the fire, and the public works people. It's the people that are coming into work here. It's also the people that are working from home. We have a lot of that social distancing going on with our town staff. And Adam has his team have divided it up where they, in case somebody does get virus, God forbid, here he has got it divided up where it won't necessarily affect every department or totally wipe out a particular department. So far, we've been blessed. And I can tell you that no one here with the town of Fuquay-Varina that we know of at this time has had the virus. You know, in closing, I've signed 4 emergency orders, state of emergency orders that the mayor's authorized to do. I've checked with our mayor pro tem. I've checked with each of y'all kind of as we've moved through this process. And I appreciate the support that this town board has given not only me, but the town during this process. This is a tough one. It's really a hard thing. And you have to have a good team. And I truly believe we got the best team here, not only staff, but commissioners and a best town board that we could have for this situation to take place. You know, on a lighter note, Thursday at 11 o'clock, I think Susan Weiss has got Wake Forest coming down to video me. We're gonna, Mayor Jones, Vivian Jones of Wake Forest and I are gonna have a challenge about the 2020 census. And we're gonna challenge each other. And whoever loses will have to buy the other one a dinner, I think, or a hat, a ball cap or something. But I'm not sure exactly what it is. But that's coming up. We're trying to do some things that will make a difference in our 2020 census. And anytime any of us get a chance to talk about that, let's please do that, because long-term, that will make the biggest benefit to Fuquay-Varina.
Mayor, if I can just
Yes, sir.
add to that. So the way it is Mayor Byrne and Mayor Jones are challenging each other's community. The community that has the greatest number of responses to the 2020 census will get a lunch paid for by the other mayor, and the other mayor will have to wear that community's hat while having lunch. So what's at stake here is the mayor getting lunch from the mayor of Wake Forest, and the mayor of Wake Forest having to wear the Fuquay-Varina hat while having lunch if Fuquay-Varina's residents respond at a greater rate to the 2020 census than Wake Forest residents. And they're going to have a video to share that with each community's residents this week.
They orchestrate this and do this pretty regularly.
They have a public access channel, much like Wake County has, and so they are, and Cary, so they're able to have in Raleigh too. So they're able to have a little bit of a more professional
So Susan's going to have to do a good job. We're going to have to all do a good job. So I will. Maybe let's adjourn and go home.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All.
All right.